Audi versus Mercedes. In this comparison review, we will focus on the SUVs featuring the Mercedes GLS versus the Audi Q7, the Mercedes GLE versus the Audi Q8, the Mercedes GLC versus the Audi Q5, and the electric SUVs, the Mercedes EQE SUV versus the Audi Q6 e-tron. Which one would I pick of these pairs here? Which one would you pick? Tell me later in the comments. Let's dig deeper here into all of the different episodes. And later on, I'll also give you the overall conclusion. Let's go. Today we are driving the facelifted big boy in the Mercedes lineup. This is here the Mercedes GLS facelift, so to speak, the S-Class of SUVs inside the Mercedes portfolio. But how S-Class-ish is it really? And what can it do against the main competitor, the BMW X7, for example? We'll find out. It's Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with this new front grille. Before it looked a little bit more old school. Now they have this more horizontal, shiny design. Let's take it that way. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it always looks like this, unless you go for the AMG 63 version, which then gets the vertical fins in the front grille. One of my favorite Mercedes color. It's in unicolor. It's called Alpine Gray. And it looks matte-ish, but it's not a matte color. As I said, no metallic, it's a unicolor. And I think it really looks always fresh and is also not too sensitive when it's like a little bit dirty or something. It always looks great, actually. Multi-beam LED, also updated headlamps as for that. And the length here coming to the side. And this is the typical GLS style with the very upright window. And yeah, a more conservative style, so to speak. Also here then the wheel arches in vehicle color. Wheels from 20 to 23 inch, 21 inch would be standard in the US, and 22 inch is standard here for the 580 version for the 8-cylinder. And we'll see how it, behaves with the comfort and so on. Standard air suspension. We'll also drive it here on the German Autobahn for you here today. And towards the rear, also updated tail lamps with a more modern design here. Also, when you look a little bit closer, I think that's actually well done. So to give it a little bit more modern, fresh look. And in the lower part, Audi fake exhaust police checks it out. Yeah, I mean, it's not pure fake, at least here. It's the 8-cylinder. They always want to have the same graphic. This air runs through, but the outside tip is not the actual exhaust. Yeah, 3.5 tons, by the way, is the towing capacity, so is also one of the very famous Mercedes trailer vehicles, so to speak. Turning indicators, that looks pretty cool, right? Because all of these small elements are being replaced by that then. Interesting idea. Yeah, just in the rear, maybe not as spectacular as in the front. At least it's visible enough, but actually more visible from the side than from the rear, honestly. Key fob, high gloss black. Well, it's actually, still quite worthy. Let's take it that way. Then the doors. Do we have soft close here, actually? Yeah, we do. Soft, so either soft close or slam it, and then it sounds pretty cool, right? Yeah, good sound. And here we also have these side step. You don't have to go for them. They look cool, actually. Yeah, they get dirty easily, however. And then when you get in and out, sometimes this can actually also make your pants also dirty right here. So yeah, leatherette pants. Yeah, you have to wear then high-grade leatherette pants. Then it doesn't happen. Then here at the inside of the doors, everything covered here, also in the carbon fiber look. That's actually quite cool. Probably go for that you don't have more high gloss black. And here, this is still the generation where you can move these seats controls and they give feedback. I think it's better than the all new ones. Here then also, this is rather hard packed though, but there's a rubber cover in the lower part. Yeah, but this could be maybe a little bit better. Then this interior here with a nice entry badge. And steering wheel is now new with the facelift. It now has the hashtag capacitive BS buttons. So I think harder to control than before due to that. Then the seats here, this is the animal skin. In the Northern American market, you can also get the Artico leatherette. And I have to say, in both cases, actually, other competitors like the BMW X7 offer better comfort. It's not the best quality at that given price here. So also in the leatherette section, BMW, for example, has the better quality. So seating wise, it's not ideal. Also here, the animal skin is really stiff, not that soft. However, space wise, 189. 6'2", there's enough headroom left. And in the European market, they even don't offer any alternatives to the seat materials. So this is disappointing here at Mercedes. Then steering wheel. She responded to that.
Something went wrong.
Yes, something went wrong. Yeah, I would say so. Then the steering wheel up and down, in and out, easy control. I love these shifting pedals. They have great feedback, even though if it's not the most, let's say, best use case for a large SUV to have shifting pedals. I mean, probably when you go downhill for a longer period of time and so on, want to use the engine brake, then maybe, but it's not that, hey, I want to do it on a racetrack or something, but they just give you such a satisfying feedback. That's really awesome. And the favorite part of this vehicle is to come up very soon, because the rear seats and the trunk and the mechanism, the electric folding, this is so fun today. So definitely stay tuned for that very soon. Cockpit overview, signalized by this huge middle console with the panic handles here that Leah can also hold on tight while I'm driving. Very civilized as usual. Then we also have the carbon fiber decal element. In this case here, there's like an AMG premium line for the interior. Nice ambient lighting integration. That was what Mercedes always does very well. Then here the glove box also falls down a little bit dampened, but could be maybe more dampened. This is also a scent thing, so you can apply some perfume to the interior. And this huge middle console here, you can slide this one open, but it's a lot of high gloss black. And then you have adaptive cup holders. Here you can attach some cables, inductive charging pad, and pretty cool here, you have cooled or heated cup holders in the front. Then you have this pad here where you can control something of the infotainment system. This has also received an update here, so with the facelift, and also here an update for the visual part, also for the air vents, all horizontal in the mix. And what I love here still, yes, manual climate unit with clicking sounds. You can control the climate and also the fan speed and so on. So I really appreciate that it's not the all new latest generation of Mercedes vehicles, that we have a somewhat more conservative user interface. You can also control the air suspension from here in the middle part, for example, like that, here for upper and down, but also adjust according to the driving modes. And then split for the armrest with some clutter underneath and USB-C charger. And yeah, this is also a nice closing sound when you open or close that one. And one of my favorite things is all that we have the ambient lighting integration here at the side of the handle. That is also a good job. Some say it's maybe too much. I just love it. And here the screen integration, you can already see it from here, is here in this horizontal thing. And then with the ambient lighting once again underneath. Driver POV, look at that. Here are the capacitive feed. So this is like one field that also gives some kind of feedback, but then the capacitive function decides which part of the field you are pressing, and you can, for example, slide with the volume, but also press. Then the digital instruments with different stylings you can pick, also full screen map, for example, or this off-road view. That's pretty cool actually from the styling. And then there's also a head-up display next to not only off-road view for here, but also in the main infotainment system. You can go for that one here. And then you have all the off-road information here. I think the scheme looks cool, right? With this terrain view, that is really something pretty cool, isn't it? And what you can also do is here have this transparent bonnet feature. So here, when I turn on the engine and then I just go forward, there is a past feed being built up that you can see what is underneath the tires. So this is not a live feed from underneath the bonnet, but still you see where it is in comparison to the tires, that you don't damage the wheels and so on. So this is a pretty nice idea, isn't it? Then let's go back here. We have a main menu, all has been updated. Yeah, it's, let's say, simple enough, not the latest version. Most of the time you will use Apple CarPlay and Android Auto anyway. And today's panoramic roof is proudly presented to you by Leah. Here you can use this real lever still, and then you can actually, it goes all the way over the vehicle.
Wow.
There we go.
Do you hear it?
That's cool. So there's a very wide opening also. Pretty cool. Yeah. That's then the GLS convertible. And what I also would like to know, what about the sun blinds, like the visors here in the front? Can they be extended actually? And is there just one or two?
Good question.
There's two, right?
And
So they can be extended?
wow.
And also a second one then, so that's pretty cool actually. Rear seats, that's going to be very interesting. First of all, inside of the doors, everything nicely covered and so on, carbon fiber. And here we also still have the feedback to control the seats. Heated seats also available, and also interesting here, just pull this window lever one more time and then you have the electric shade. That's the mechanism I also prepared, and look at that, how all of the window is covered, and just pull down one more time and that's it. And I don't need separate screen for that or something like that. Then here, when I'm driving as a tall driver, I still have enough of legroom. There's no problem at all. Super much legroom, and also with 189, even though the panoramic roof is here, all works. By the way, I can also control the interesting. Ah, there it is. Just didn't pull enough. There we go. I can control the top shade here from the rear. This is also a very, very rare function. It goes all the way in the front, but I want to have some more light here. This is really interesting. So hardly any other vehicle we see where I can control it with one button from the rear. Also then this top shade. And I also have here in the middle part, I can fold this down. Also with ambient light integration and have another screen. I can also put this out. But honestly, who would do that, and for what reason? I have no idea why would you do that. Yeah, it's maybe like a reminiscence of the past. Then here, inductive charging pad for your phone, some more space underneath, and if you fold this up, you can also sit here in the middle part. So either you get this through bench design, or as an alternative, you have a captain's seat set up here for the GLS, that it is a 6-seater. In this case here, then the 7-seater. And yeah, you can also sit in the middle, so this is easily working for 5 tall adults. Let's see if there's more possible. And here in the middle part, you also get a separate climate unit, a real one with a haptic feedback and so on. So pretty cool as for that. I turn it off now for the sound. And yeah, good point. Yeah, with 2 more USB-C channels. I hardly didn't see it from my perspective. Good point, Leah. Thank you. And ambient lighting also in the footwell in the rear, and you have the cup holders also here, some in the front here, like a very small one, and then a bigger one that is also adaptive. And now what I'm going to do is, by the way, ISOFIX here on the front outside in the second seating row. Top tethers are behind that. So now if I move this part here forward, that I could still sit there, because we want to check out the space in the third seating row. Maybe let's put it like this. So here also electric control for the rear seats. And then there's this top lever I can pull. So I can fold the seat forward for an entry to the rear. That looks quite cool, right? And then it also goes up a little bit like this. That's nice. So now I squeeze myself in here. And could I still sit here to put the head restraints up? That requires some work. There we go. Pretty heavy. Yeah, legroom wise, not really. This doesn't work, but at least we also have ISOFIX here and top tether for the third seating row. So this is like a child seat machine here. Headroom wise, it does work for tall adults, but legroom wise, yeah. Not really, but this is not, let's say, that the main purpose of that one. But you do have massive amounts of legroom in the second seating row, and also some more comfort features like here USB-C chargers and also seat heating for the third row.
Wow.
We hardly see that. What we have here actually is when you press like this here, and then it says also roller cover. There you can also attach the cover from the trunk. If you don't want to use it for the very back, fold on this, and then you can also install the trunk cover right there. That's also pretty interesting.
That's amazing.
And let's see, can I? There we go. So I can also control the seat here one more time from the third row. So for example, I can make myself comfortable here and then cage myself in, or of course in the other way around if I want to get out again. So and then you can see this very interesting mechanism. So this is really some piece of engineering, isn't it? And now to one of the most exciting parts for today, the trunk or boot with folding all the seats. It will be amazing. Wait for it. Let's open that one. Good feedback also, the sound, electric hatch. Then you have a small cover here for the last row. And you can see, yeah, the trolley also fits underneath vertically. And this is also pretty cool. This is here 1 meters 20 or 47 inches here in the very front. So really wide right here. And the normal length of the back part here is like 55 centimeters or 22 inches. Some space here underneath. And now I first have to remove this one here. So you have to maybe like here. It's a little bit tricky like this. So, and then we have a free view. And now we can do the following. Here I fold the second row and a button for folding all at the same time. On the right side, I can lower or higher the vehicle from the air suspension for loading in and out. And here the third row. So, and also individually. I think probably the most spectacular feature is putting everything at once. However, to measure, it's better when I first do this. And here, let's take a look at that. Let's put the cover to the ground now. So there we go. So that's really nice, isn't it? And this is also the normal trunk length here of about 1 meters 25 or 49 inches. And by the way, the height here is really high, 85 centimeters or 33 inches in the highest point actually. And now the second row, also electric. And this is just awesome, isn't it? Really, really cool. I love that mechanism. So, I mean, you don't have to do anything yourself there. And here, like this 2 meters or 79 inches, it's even longer than that here than for the full flex. And also, if you want to do everything in reverse again, now just one button here, all pull at once, and there everything goes back together. This looks so amazing, nice, right? Yeah. Leah is also really enthusiastic about this. Pretty cool, right? Shall we do it one more time with the all button? Put down again here. So I would just do it maybe like Homer Simpson style, you know, seats up, seats down, seats up, seats down, all day. Yeah. This is also how you can get your kids be enthusiastic about cars, not only about engines and sound, about seat folding, right? Top tether, by the way, third row, and also 3 actually in the second row. Engines, 3-liter 6-cylinder, diesel, also made in Europe, otherwise the 3-liter 6-cylinder petrol, but also the 4-liter V8. You have it right here in the GLS 580. Above that would only then come the same engine, but then in the AMG spec, then the 63 engine. Again, then of course a little bit different, the engine, not 1-to-1. This one here, the normal V8, is at 4.9 seconds in the acceleration figure. The EU figure, 4.7 in the US, the miles per hour figure for the acceleration. And this one gives you 520 horsepower, all-wheel drive of course, always with a rear-wheel bias. And another technology update is also that all the engines now get a mild hybrid boost for better efficiency and little bit of power. Sport mode. That was 50 to 130. Yeah, that V8 is going quite well. At least straight. Under 5 seconds in the acceleration figure from 0. So 4.9 is the EU figure to 100 kilometers an hour. And also some nice sound feedback. In the sport mode here, the throttle input is a little bit quicker actually. But here on the German Autobahn, we can actually also drive quicker, and that is soon to come. First of all, here at the normal motorway speed, sport mode here, the air suspension is a little bit stiffer. You can also vary that, see if it makes a huge difference. Now to the comfort mode, now it's a little bit more floating actually, and in general the air suspension is set on a rather soft note, soft air suspension, floaty Mercedes ride. I really appreciate that, that's pretty cool. However, you also have 22-inch wheels here, and they do reduce the comfort. They're standard for the 580 here, for the 8-cylinder, and that sometimes gives you a strange driving feeling, because you think, hey, the air suspension is very soft and gives you nice comfort, but then you're going over some bumps, and you feel them pretty harshly, and you think like, wait a minute, wasn't the air suspension soft and nice and great in comfort? What is happening here? So by that, you have a soft suspension, but with the big wheels, it can still feel bumpy. And that's not ideal. So I would go for a GLS, then probably, yeah, have to go for a smaller engine and with smaller wheels. Once again, back to the sport one from 130. 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour, and even quicker, 220. And now we see the situations. Whoa, when you have this.
Wow,
Whoa!
it's so heavy. Oh.
Yeah, you literally feel that when you are on the brakes. Yeah, and Leah's already taking a toll for that. Whew. Yeah, and that's the thing. Not meant to race it, that one, because the engine can do it. It's really, really powerful. But then again, so much weight needs to be decelerated again. Yeah, and you do feel that. And although you're on the sport mode, still the suspension is still keeping everything in comfort check. Really nice. But yeah, as I said, when the road is nice and flat, then the wheels are no problem. But as soon as there's some irregularities on the road, yeah, doesn't feel too good. The suspension is itself great, definitely. Steering, yeah, it has some kind of dead zone here, especially when you are in the comfort mode. This is probably meant to driving straight, to motorway, cruising and so on. But I would like to have more feeling, because here hardly anything is happening. And recent Mercedes steering wheels, an all new models are actually better in that respect. So Mercedes has taken a huge leap forward as for that respect, but here not a very fine feeling. Noise insulation here at 160 kilometers an hour, so already quite quick, quite fast. It is kind of windy outside here today, but I would say it's not the best noise comfort we had in a large SUV, but definitely also not the worst. But I have to say that, yes, the V8 is a little fun to drive, but does this one give me the feeling of driving such a high-priced premium vehicle that I would pay a $150,000 for that? That's doubtful. So yes, of course, you get a lot of stuff that is good and typical for Mercedes and so on, but I think the driving quality so far does not really justify the price. That's my point, so maybe it's also better than a cheaper product, but not so much better than the way cheaper product. You know what I mean? What's your take on that? Yeah, okay, Leah agrees.
I feel it's like a V-Class.
Oh, she said it's similar to a V-Class in driving. Oh.
It's so heavy and wow.
Now the Mercedes guys will be pretty angry at us.
I'm so sorry, but I don't like it. No.
But you heard Leah lately in the BMW X3 review that she wishes the Mercedes GLC and prefers the GLC over the X3. So that just to save
it's a different level.
Yeah, different level and different segment. But maybe we'll save Leah from the wrath of the Mercedes guys. Yeah. We're also going here into an S combination now, switching the motorways, and we'll see more about this sporty or non-sporty characteristics. And there we go. Of course, like 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour, then it's really silent, of course. No problem about that. So here in the sport mode, air suspension a little bit stiffer, but you really feel it's like a huge boat you're driving over, and yeah, not the best feeling in the steering. So there, for example, a BMW X7 would give you way more joy in driving. And also the big Audi SUVs, like a Q7, a Q8 and so on. Q8, of course, a little bit shorter as for that. But then again, their suspension setup at Audi is for the SUVs then rather stiff. So the question is what you prefer. If you rather go straight, then this soft air suspension is probably better. And to me personally, I do always prefer air suspensions which tell you they are air suspensions and are soft and floaty. I love that. That's what I also like about the Mercedes air suspensions if they are not AMG. It's just, again, I think that the wheel choice is just too large for that vehicle here. And yeah, the solution probably would then be the 6-cylinder, which can be bought with smaller wheels. Actually, let's accelerate it out one more time. Wow, gives you that push. There we go, in 140 again. So that is of course pretty cool in the performance. The downside of that is a super high consumption. So from the German vehicles, is one of the least efficient ones you can buy overall. 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour, cruise control is the minimum. 12 liters and more kilometers. So, but then when you go into a mix of a little bit higher speed, city, it's more than 15 liters on 100 kilometers. In MPG figures, 20 to 16 MPG US and 23 to 19 MPG UK. That's the span then here for the V8. And yeah, this is of course then once again better with the 6-cylinder. And let's change this one motorway one more time. This is also kind of, oh, Leah's already preparing to hold herself tight. There's also a treacherous bend here because there's a transverse bump in the middle. And exactly now, that was actually mastered quite well, I have to say. But yeah, you just have this shaking up effect a little bit there. You just feel the weight you are carrying there. And most of the time you would probably stay in comfort mode and then just keep it simple, keep it slow and so on. And yeah, control the climate unit, the manual one, while driving easily without looking down. So just looking straight and changing the climate there. That's of course a cool thing to do, definitely. So this is more thought out to like long US highways where you rather drive straight, 1 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour. And then it does also most of the things well. And the soft air suspension makes sense. Also the steering is maybe not too sensitive and so on. And that's a noise insulation at really, really high speeds is not where, for example, a Mercedes E-Class or S-Class would be at higher speeds and so on. Yeah, and for the brakes, you have to think about that this is a heavy vehicle and that you have to be a little bit earlier on the brakes actually. One more time, I will go to the motorway to check out some of the assistance systems because that's also very important for that. But here also when you drive a little bit slower, maneuvering it in the city can be kind of challenging, especially like in narrow European cities. In the US, it's maybe not a problem, but this one's also not being offered with the rear axle steering. And that also gives me a hard time to maneuver it in and out of the basement garage. So hardly any other vehicle, which is actually giving me such a hard time not to damage the wheels at the like small, sidewalk thing than in the basement garage, where I still don't know why people build that in a basement garage because it's just annoying for everyone. Yeah, so not that flexible, not that cruisable in the city, definitely. Way more fun than here on the Autobahn, definitely. But as I said, the driving fun itself is not the best inside this segment. Then when we get here to the assistance systems, now with the capacitive controls here on the steering wheel in this facelift, so doesn't really speak for the facelift, I would say. And then here I've also set the active lane keeping assist, and then let's see how smoothly it keeps me in the lane. Yeah, so far actually quite nice. So not too many hectic reactions and so on. And then there's also a blind spot monitor which is integrated in the side mirror. So assistance systems wise, everything really smooth and well thought out. Yeah, you have to know the limits of that vehicle here. Pricing on the Northern American market, at least $90,000 for the GLS, and then $115,000 for the 580 for the 8-cylinder, and of course then, when you spec it some maybe like $130,000 or something like that. On the European market, always more expensive, also the prices including the VAT. So 110,000 euros for the GLS base, 138,000 euros for the 580, and then some 145,000 euros, something like that, when you spec it also as it stands here right now. In the driving dynamics, it cannot catch up, for example, especially with the BMW X7. There it just offers more driving fun from the BMW perspective. This one here more with the floaty soft air suspension, which I personally like, but then I would go for smaller wheels, and these are not available here with the 8-cylinder, so we should rather go then with the 6-cylinder. Is also better in the fuel efficiency because it gives you good boost. It also sounds nice, maybe good for towing, but for most use cases, the 6-cylinder will definitely be the better engine here is also a little bit less weight in this Mercedes yacht, so to speak, because it feels sometimes like a big boat to steer around there. My favorite ones are definitely like the flexible solutions there on the inside. And tell me what you think. The Audi Q7 has been facelifted, and here we have it as the sporty SQ7, and we'll go through the changes and also solve the question, are the previous generation Audi models actually better than the all-new ones that have recently been coming out? We'll go through the exterior, interior and driving details here. It's Thomas Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go here with the front. What a huge front single frame grille, this black mask here. This also has an additional black package, that's why. And the new facelift change is that we have these L designs here in the S-Line and in the SQ7, and the Audi rings are really extremely large, but at the same time, they are now more two-dimensional, and also a chrome delete has been happening. Chili red is this very vehicle color.
Chili red metallic.
Chili red metallic, yeah, thank you, yeah. Thanks for that. Then the headlamps here, they are coming, in this case then here, optional matrix LED with laser lights. And you can see more black accentuations due to this black pack all around the vehicle. Also here is the mirror caps. Then, by the way, the headlamps, they also have new, coming with that facelift, digital signatures. You can actually change from the interior for a personalized LED signature experience. Works both front and the rear. Side profile, 5 meters 07 or 200 inches. And this 5 meters 07 you can very well imagine, because this is also 507 horsepower. And we'll soon take a look on the engine compartment here on the hood. And then 21-inch wheels we have here today. 20-inch would be standard for the SQ7, and up to 22-inch are available. At the rear axle, we also have a rear axle steering available for the Q7. That is also standard with the SQ7. And this one also comes with the adaptive air suspension, then with a sportier note. And let's directly take a look under the hood, because this is really crucial, of course, for the SQ7. In general, you get 3-liter 6 cylinders, petrol and diesel. You'll also find the exact figures here for the normal Q7 in the video description and the pinned comment. And this being here the SQ7, you have the 4-liter V8 biturbo with 507 horsepower and around 4 seconds in the acceleration figure. Classic quattro overdrive, 40% front, 60% in the rear, and then it adapts a little bit. And of course above that would be then the RS Q8 with a little bit more horsepower tune. In the rear we can find more of this black package, for example, and you can also see here these proximity lights. So they change when I go away from the vehicle, there we go, and when I approach the vehicle again, then they say, hey, go away, this is too far. Or too close actually. You went too far, this is too close, that's what I wanted to say. So this is a new way to communicate with the outside world. Also here then with the facelift, these are also OLEDs, organic LED. This is a separate option then once again. And SQ7 here, the badge has been redesigned. So you have this one, but it also would signalize the S-Line. Then it would look like this. And I think that's a wrong decision, because if you buy an S version of an Audi, you want this special S badge there, and not to be mistaken with an S-Line, right? Even though it says here S, I think it's the wrong decision. It's also been missing in the front grille and so on. Yeah, what do you think about that? Tell me in the comments. And also the turning indicators, when you have this most extensive LED option, they have them cascading both in the rear and also in the front for this special turning indicator or hazard light effect. Let's get to the interior. This is the key fob here. I think slim and nice, S badge then in this case, and really solid door handles and a great door closing sound front. And even more so in the rear, really. The thing is that especially the passenger door actually closes. Shall we show that to you? Just come around, because it was something really fun that happened to us many times now actually. So like the passenger door, probably because there's so much insulation, you know, and the rubber pads and so on, here, like when you close it with normal force, it won't close. You really have to slam it.
Always open.
Yeah, like with the G-Class, because you know when Leah was closing it gently, then it never closed actually. But I think it's not a big problem. It's more, you can also see it here on this side. There's like so much like rubber insulation and so on. It's also very silent car on the interior. And yeah, that's the wind. And then here inside, this is rather hard but structured, a little bit soft only. Then we have here a carbon fiber deco element and a lot of microfiber, dynamic microfiber. Then here softer for your elbow and classic controls here for the side mirrors. I really appreciate it. However, no felt covering here on the inside of the door pockets as entry badge, since this is the SQ7. In general, the Q7 and SQ7 interior are not too different. Here you have the red contrast stitches on the inside as badge. It will also look similar in the S line actually. Same to the seats. In the European market, you can also get this Dynamica frequency, it's called. Here, this is a microfiber with a special pattern. That looks really cool, actually. No animal-free solutions are available, and on the US market, you cannot even get this one here. So that's disappointing. There you can also see that the lineup is a little bit older now. And here, with 189, 6'2", there's plenty of headroom left.
6'5".
6'5", blue eyes, yeah. 6'2" is fine, right? It doesn't have to be 6'5", right? And I'm also in the automotive industry and not in finance. So yeah, but I think it's fine for you. Yeah, it's a very comfy seating position. Also here the microfiber seats, if you can get one, this is the most comfortable seat here. Great upright seating position, I love that. And also here this platform, like the Touareg as well, the Bentayga, the Q8 here. It has like an even sill with the outside here, and this creates a very special atmosphere here. The cockpit overview, this is still the previous generation of the large Audis, and to me this was a little bit better. The only exception is you have a lot of high gloss black here, and this area field here also tends to do some squeaking noise sometimes. However, here we have a carbon fiber decal element, it's cool. Glove box also properly dampened. But the horizontal stress of this layout is cool, and I also like here the integration of the screen. It doesn't just stand out, pop out. So this integration in the interior, I think, looks nicer than a lot of modern cars. Or what do you think actually about this? Here also the climate unit is in a separate screen, and I do prefer the physical Audi unit, but for a touch screen solution, I think this is a rather good solution. Also interesting here, by the way, that you can here use this swiping gesture to sync left and right and off the temperature. Cup holders are here, adaptive as well. Really thick shifting lever, classic deal as well. This middle armrest here is soft enough for your elbow. However, it's a big fail because this mechanism here underneath is there that you can actually slide this in and out. But then there's such a thick, hard box here. You can only put your smartphone really flat and level here, for example, on this inductive charging pad, where it overheats anyway because it's not cooled. Or if you want to put in the cable, you really have to be gentle and everything has to be very flat in there. If something is sticking out just a little bit too high, you are crashing your smartphone and your cable with this thing. You know, you put it down and it's really like, I don't know, like a, yeah, well, like a, what I'm thinking of, maybe Star Wars, when they are in this squishing pit, you know, and they're trying to escape, yeah, something like that. Back to the vehicle, back to the future, and then here the steering wheel perforation at the side has a really good size and grip, and I really like we still have real buttons with clicking sounds on the steering wheel. Once again, when I think about some newer Audi models.
It's like you cuddle with the steering wheel.
Oh, I'm cuddling with the steering wheel, yeah. This one's the animal skin though, but real three-dimensional rings here on the Audi, here of the Audi on the steering wheel. So I also prefer this actually. That's pretty cool, right? And then we have the digital instruments, very clean atmosphere. You can also change something of the views here, for example. I prefer this view, like this, you know, with the classic round gauges and so on. And we also have a head-up display. There we go. It's flickering at the moment. It does not flicker for your real eye. And then the infotainment system. There we go. Maybe Leah can close the door,
Yeah.
so we don't have reflections from the side. So here, no, it's not closed again. It's not probably closed. Now it's closed and the whole car has been shaken. Thank you. So here we go. Classic menu structure. I think this is a rather easy way. And just very important always to deactivate one of the most annoying feature Audi has ever invented, is like in display. And then here MMI, touchscreen feedback. So when you would activate this one here, then for everything you click here, like a normal click is not enough. You really have like bang, bang, you know, like it's so ridiculous. So I have no idea why someone would do that, because you're used from your smartphone that you just click something and that's it, you know. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto is always there, so most of the time you would use that. And here the drive select can also be pressed down below here, and then you can switch through the different driving modes. Rear seats, first of all the doors, also somewhat dampened here on the top part, the carbon fiber decal element, the microfiber, however no cover line at the inside of the doors, optional Bang & Olufsen sound system. It's good, it's really good, enjoying it. There may be some more spectacular systems on the market, but definitely the best one for this vehicle here, and yeah, you will enjoy the music. And then here, you know that this one is available as a 5-seater or as a 7-seater with a third seating row, and of course both works, let's say. And here the legroom, as I have in the normal version here, there we go, enough legroom left. And then headroom is also no problem. There are also versions with a panoramic roof available, but you will still, even as a tall adult, have enough headroom. So I'm 1.89 meters, 6'2", you remember that. Then here's actually quite nice that we have the microfiber cover also on the inside part here, and then I can fold this open with an interesting mechanism here. There we go. And then we have another cup holder here, which is for tiny, tiny, tiny bottles.
It's very high.
It's kind of high, yeah, but it's really for, let's say, children's bottles.
You can maybe sit
Yeah, yeah, the smallest children can sit underneath indeed. And what's also cool is there also the front seat? Let's see. No, not on the front seat, but here 1, 2, 3 Isofix. So that's good that they also thought about the Isofix here on the middle seat, because this vehicle is also frequently bought by families. And here can also change the seat here forward and backward. So with every one singularly, there we go. That's a nice sound, right? When I'm not like lifting it completely up, but let it a little bit down this lever, and then nice.
Like a roller coaster.
Yeah, like a roller coaster indeed. And then I can also change the angle or the inclination of the seat right here, more sleeping position, and this is really flexible. You know, like the I can do it from here to here. That looks really funny on camera, doesn't it? So a lot of space here, the most versatile Audi actually, I have to say. And yeah, even show you some more features from the trunk. As I said, today the 5-seater version here. And here we also have a climate unit with clicking sounds. It is digital, but it also has these clicking sounds here. And I mean, USB, there we go. USB-C chargers here. This was updated now with the facelift. And then you might wonder, wait a minute. Everything I'm showing you today, yeah, it's very interesting, really nice. But what has really changed actually in the interior for the facelift? And wait for it. There we go. A new visualization in the digital instruments of the vehicle, better quality, and also, look at that. I'm using the turning indicator and it shows it in the screen. This is amazing. It's incredible. It's the most awesome feature I've ever seen in my life. Well, honestly, I think it's really quite cool. But yeah, I mean, when this is the most thing that has changed in the interior facelift, you know that they didn't spend too much money on that. Leah also wants to show you her reaction on this major interior facelift change. And not to forget, well, it's more an exterior feature. Oh, there's a cool mirroring of Leah there with her sunglasses. So here, there's more an exterior feature, but this also reflects on the interior here, that you can pick the individual light signatures on the exterior here from the infotainment. Got the trunk. Massive rear hatch. Look at that. Also, this area, you know, where the lights are and so on. And here we go. fits also in a vertical way. This top cover here automatically goes up and down, cool feature. The overall length is 2 meters or 78 inches, and just like the normal length here of the trunk is like 1 meters and 10 or 44 inches, and the same also goes here for the width approximately. And here underneath you can remove this. Yeah, thank you. Here, some space underneath. A replacement tire would theoretically also fit. And the question is, of course, if you have the 5-seater or the 7-seater. In this case, as I've shown to you, this is the 5-seater. Here, folded the seats is like a single split, so you can individually fold them. When you have secured them down there, then you have to also pull the strap again, that you can actually put them up again. And what's also interesting here on this side, on both outside sides, I can pull this one here to fold it up and then have like space here. But the reason for that is rather the entry to the 3rd seating row if you have a 7-seater. Dynamic mode. Okay.
Woo, crazy!
Yeah, that was 250 kilometers an hour.
Feels like 100.
Feels
really.
like nothing.
It was so silent.
Yeah. So just want to, because I saw like way ahead some cars probably reduced the speed now, and now when you're driving like 140 kilometers an hour, like 80, 90 miles an hour, it's like standing still. Wow. And I mean, we are in a really, really large SUV. Really large and heavy and everything, and you hardly feel that. Here in the dynamic mode, adaptive air suspension is being set on the sportier note, and we also have the 21-inch wheels on this one here. And yeah, they are notably stiff. So if you want more comfort, you would stick with the 20-inch wheels, with the standard wheel size for this, at least in Europe. Not sure if, I've got to check the US build configurator if they already start with larger wheels. That's sometimes the case. Yeah, but I mean, when you go for the SQ7, you also want some sportiness. However, for the best comfort, really, you would put the air suspension to the comfort mode and then go a wheel size lower than that. When the road is all even, it's all the way fine, but some potholes and so on, you do feel then. Well, but then the good thing is, it doesn't lean at all, so when you're going right and left and so on, you cannot shake up this vehicle, although it has this this high weight. And the steering feeling is really perfect. It's the great size. Here, very fine, small commands are directly transported onto the road. At the same time, to the outsides, you have such a great feeling of the vehicle, and usually have that only with way smaller vehicles, that you have such a great feeling for it. Of course, when you are once up to speed, like we did just now, I was really early on the brakes then, because if you're really high speed with that driving cupboard, you have a very long braking distance. So you have to bear that in mind, and shouldn't drive that quickly. Actually, I usually also don't drive that fast, just for testing purposes. I drive fast, yes, but usually not that fast. That's the thing. Right, Leah? Thank you for nodding in an acknowledging way. Sometimes. Yeah, I mean, here, when we go, to switch back the modes is not the most convenient way, I have to say. Comfort mode, now the suspension is being raised, and then we have a little bit more forgiving support from it. Yeah, you know what that sign means, guys? That means back to the dynamic mode. How it hammers in. Easily up to 200 kilometers an hour again, 125 miles an hour. Wow. I mean, this V8 is delivering big time, and it doesn't create the most extreme noise, actually. but like here in the interior, it's not exaggerated, but you had a yeah, it's a very satisfying feeling still, definitely. And the whole driving dynamics here, the quattro all-wheel drive, slightly rear-wheel biased. Here's also this additional pack that we have, the differential at the rear. Oh, there's a Ferrari coming from the rear. Doing a race with the McLaren or what? What is this? Interesting. We can join this race. I mean, we are capable. So you remember 507 horsepower from this 5 meters 07 length. And also about 4 seconds in the acceleration figure from 0. But you see, even if we are at speeds, we still have really good acceleration. And oh yeah, I think it's a Lotus. Yeah, nice race, guys. I think they are switching the motorways now. Yeah, I mean, and here at 180 kilometers an hour, I don't even have to raise my voice. I'm so relaxed, although we are such high speeds. It is a superb noise insulation, and yeah, definitely one of the most silent SUVs out there. This is also equipped with the additional noise insulation package, considering the total price of that vehicle here. I think it was like 500 euros extra or something like that, so not too expensive, considering other expensive options and so on. But it really does the job. It's so extremely silent and relaxing here. At the same time, you have all this abundance of power. We've been talking about the new things in the vehicle and the facelift, and yeah, shown you that as an overlay earlier. Like this. The second one was a Corvette actually. So first was the Lotus, second one was a Corvette. So here we have this assistance systems view in the middle part. You can also go back to the comfort mode. And it's not only showing me these nice visualizations of turning indicators and so on, but also the visualization of other vehicles, like other assistance views, you know, maybe also from Tesla. And it's also showing me visualizations of...
Right lane.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Leah has to take a look at the GPS. That's good sharing of... I'm talking about the car, Leah is checking the GPS, thank you. Yeah, back to this visualization thing. So it's also showing me if there's not enough distance, for example, to the car in front of me. So this is like an additional visualization help. But once again, the changes on the interior are kind of limited. You really feel they didn't want to spend too much money on this vehicle. And the thing is, it is also almost perfect for what it does, you know. Yeah, the V8, of course, consumes a lot of fuel. If you drive it in the most efficient way, like 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour, motorway, cruise control, you can score some 11, 12 liters on 100 kilometers. That's some like 20 something mpg US, 23 something mpg UK. That's the most efficient way. When you then use all the power, for example, yeah, that raises a couple of liters, but even more, I mean, this really high speed doesn't raise as much as you would be driving short circuits in the city. So city driving then, when you have predominantly city driving, not motorway and so on, this can go up even to 16 liters on 1 kilometer, so something way below 20 mpg, like maybe like 3, 4, 5 mpg less. So it is one of the most fuel consuming engine that the German automotive industry can offer to you. That has to be said, definitely. So the 3-liter 6-cylinder here in the Audi Q7 and the Audi Q8 also does a nice job for sure. So if you want maybe a better compromise out of that. Here once again, when I'm talking about the assistance systems, I have this elaborated view now in the digital instruments, and the car can also keep me in the lane. And it's a very sophisticated system. They also updated that distance in the front, and also here active keeping on the side. And you see there are no hectic movements or reactions from the steering wheel. Everything of this vehicle in driving feels so extremely flawless, you know. And you see also this active steering movement is not, let's say, tuned in a way that it's overreacting or guiding you too much. This is an assistance system that is, let's say, rather tuned on, I want you still rather to drive the car yourself, you know what I mean? And some newer assistance systems, they react in such a harsh way that you feel like, okay, well, this car is rather meant for semi-autonomous driving than really for driving yourself. And here, lane change is so much fun, and yeah, hardly ever it's possible to drive such a large SUV and have so much fun. And yeah, you know, it's sharing the genes with the Porsche Cayenne, and here in the S version, in Audi Q8, Audi Q7, they feel pretty much Porsche Cayenne alike, definitely. And yeah, this whole platform here being used for so many vehicles, VW Touareg as well, and Bentley Bentayga, they're using these synergies for this very platform. It's not the newest platform, but does so many things so well. Yes, I would wish for more animal-free interior. That's definitely also due to this, you know, older philosophy they have in this vehicle. So some newer things are missing, yes, but at the same time, a lot of these old traditional values they put in here. German engineering, this is where you can still feel it at its best. And I really have to say, maybe more so than in some of the all new models we've recently seen with Audi. So I really hope that they take some of the experience from this one here and carry it over to the new models, because so many things are, I mean, this is like a perfect Autobahn SUV, definitely. And hey, at the same time, you can also get it as a 7-seater and use it for the family. Pricing, Q7 starts $60,000 US, Northern American market, 90,000 then for the SQ7. And on the European market, for example, Germany as an example, you start at 80,000 euros or then 112,000 euros here for the SQ7, including all the options we've shown you here today. As it stands here right now, 137,000 euros. That's of course pretty hefty then from the price. Overall, we have to say that, yeah, some changes here with the facelift. I mean, this playing with the light, why not? I mean, if you like that, I don't find any harm with that. But I do miss the S badge in the front grille and also this new badging design on the rear. I think the initial S design for the grille and for the rear is just better. When you buy an S vehicle, you want it actually to be seen as well, and also just for yourself, isn't it? Tell me in the comments. And then, however, I found, I mean, it's an amazing SUV, definitely. The ride could be for some maybe too stiff if you go for the 21-inch wheels or even 22. So 20-inch wheels would be better for the riding comfort. Yeah, but then you have to say, when you look at the all-new Audi models, so this vehicle here, also from the inside build quality and so on, has a lot of very solid elements you just enjoy, and also how the infotainment system is being built in, maybe some less black piano lacquer, but I feel that for some elements Audi went actually a step back with the all new models. So maybe at some point it can be good to take a look at like this model here, like from an older generation, although it has been like a little bit freshed up now, not too many changes on the interior as I told you. And then maybe to take a step back and see, hey, how can we combine like some new features and take good existing features? You know what I mean? What's your opinion on that? Tell me in the comments. Today I have the Mercedes GLE facelift for you, including a driving part with Thomas in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the front with new headlamps, new signature, and then when you have the optional multi-beam LED, 4-dot design right here, white vehicle in AMG line. Then you have this one horizontal spoke, whereas the base Mercedes GLE has 2 horizontal spokes. Here the AMG line also comes with this micro-star pattern and also a different graphic in the lower side part, whereas the base version once again would have a more subtle look. The front indicators here replace the daytime running light. That looks quite fancy, doesn't it? And in the driving part later on, we will compare and drive GLS 450 versus GLE 53. The length at 4.92 meters or 194 inches has remained the same. Wheels now start bigger, 19-inch up to 22-inch. These here are somewhat in between, 21-inch, but already massive enough from the looks. AMG line has the wheel arches in vehicle color, whereas the base line, base line, has it in the crossover wheel arches. And typical for GLE is always this design graphic right here. As for suspensions, you start with the base steel suspension, but that one already has adaptive dampers. Optional airmatic air suspension, we also have it here, and optional. The e-active body control, it can also lean in the corners, and we can go this low rider style and so on. We'll have the normal air suspension for today. The rear with new tail lamps, and when you have the AMG line, then you have this high gloss black in the lower part, and Autogefühl Fake Exhaust Police is reporting another set of fake exhaust. And a quick look at the turning indicators, not that spectacular. And as a comparison, this is the 63 model, 63S, now gets the logo on top of the hood, the AMG logo, and here 53 and 63 get the AMG front grille with the vertical fins. 53 and 63 are different in the lower side part here, where the 63 looks a little bit more massive. You can go up to 22 inch. Here you can also see the 22 inch in the AMG styling, really massive. Here also with the optional carbon ceramic brake. And in the rear you have this diffuser style in the central part, and the exhaust tips, real one is on the inside. The Autogefühl Fake Exhaust Police is always watching for you. The facelift changes also account for the GLE Coupe, and it always starts in the AMG line. This is here a 53 model, so it also has the true AMG grille, but these sides here in the lower part, this is the same in AMG line and also in the 53 model. The coupe always, of course, characterized by this falling roofline. It does split opinions. Are you team love or team hate? As for the SUV coupe thing, tell me in the comments. In the US, by the way, the coupe only available as GLE 53 or 63. On the European markets, you have a wider engine choice also for the coupe version. Key fob in matte black and not high gloss black piano lacquer. I prefer that way actually. Door closing sound. Really solid light, and also the panel gaps, well built. Inside of the doors, I prefer these models here from Mercedes, where you can still have a haptic feedback at the seat controls and not without the feedback here. Also, styling elements you can also find in a GLS, for example, with this decoy element. Also news taken from a GLS, even from the Maybach, is here the galvanized tops here at the air vents on the left side, and that goes throughout the vehicle. New steering wheel. Looks pretty fancy, this the base steering wheel, but then has the capacitive BS buttons. So I think I preferred the previous one in that case. With an AMG line or true AMG, you also get the two horizontal spokes then at the steering wheel. Dual insulation glass here, by the way. Seats here, the animal skin. How do you see it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 patterns here. The Artico MBTEX has 4 patterns. Other than that, it's hard to differentiate. The Artico available in black, grey and also new brown color, updated. 189 or 6'2" is the headroom here. That's good command driving position indeed. GLS and GLE don't differ so much in the front driving position. It's more about the rear differences then. Interior overview, you can see this galvanization here at the design element and also here now at the air vents, so a little bit improved quality. Different decal elements available here. To me, it's a little bit too much high gloss black piano lacquer. I would prefer matte wood. What would you? To me, always very important that you can still set the climate wheel manually and with a very rich clicking sound. MBUX infotainment system update. I think it's quicker than before, just more responsive, and Apple CarPlay also wireless. Of course, also Android Auto works. Burmester sound system tries to be, this very true sound, keeping to the original source. I like the sound indeed. And there's then also this new off-road mode available. You have here this off-road view, and then also a special off-road camera, live feed around that. And as soon as you go forward here, it builds up this past camera image, and there you can see I'm going over this puddle here, for example. So you always see if there's something between the tires to prevent damage. The head-up display is indeed a very impressive one. Look at how large it is, very clear as well. And you also have off-road head-up display, Eco. You can have different settings there, a standard one reduced or a sporty head-up display. So much to choose from. And the digital instruments with integrated map from the car internal GPS or map full screen. And my favorite are the new off-road gauges here. That just looks coolest from the visualization. Or once again go classic or with the sporty gauges. Middle console in the front part, you slide this one open, inductive charging pad. The cup holders are not holding the bottles too tight, but you can cool or heat them. That's pretty cool. Then you have here this touchpad where you can use alternatively to the touch screen, so you can also control the infotainment, driving mode selection here. And when you have the air suspension, that option, you can also lower or raise the vehicle manually. Last but not least, this split armrest. Panoramic roof is really wide, and you can also open it completely. Really like also this crystalline look here of the top inside interior lamps. And here we go. Let's go a little bit further. That's it. Rear bench. Actually, the door opens quite wide, so you have easy access and also for child seats and so on. Isofix at the outside parts. The bench is quite short and also folds backward a little bit. That's maybe to me not the best in comfort, also if you compare it to, for example, the BMW X5. But what is better here is the legroom. Because of the design of the rear bench, you have more legroom actually than in some of the competitors. That's actually decent. And the headroom also for tall people, no problem at all. The middle seating here is surprisingly soft in the middle part for the seating area, just a little bit stiff than here from this back area. And you now also have two USB-C chargers at the rear. The trunk, 825 liters up to over 2000 liters. You have here this cover, which doesn't have rails at the side because you can also get a 7-seater for the GLE, but I think that doesn't make any sense more than in the GLS. Here the width is actually quite good, 110 or 44 inches, and the normal length is about a meter or 40 inches, so that's good. And the total height here is 85 centimeters or 33 inches, very good measurements. To fold the seats, you have to grab over here. It is possible though. And if you went for the AMG line or have a true AMG model, 5363, then you have the steering wheel here with two horizontal spokes. This is also the one with the microfiber sides, can really recommend it. You can also get different decor elements like the carbon fiber here and also sportier seats, also with some microfiber share at least. But you can also get, depending from market to market, a full Dynamica microfiber on the inside and with the AMG line or the 53 model at least. Rear headroom in the coupe, the panoramic roof is not as long, and so it rises here again towards the rear, and then you see still enough headroom left indeed. And a quick comparison to the boot or trunk of the coupe, length, width, more or less the same of course, and here the different cover. The difference is that you lose height here in that latter area. In most cases you will be able to live with that. Engine lineup, 2-liter 4-cylinders, petrol and diesel, 3-liter 6-cylinder petrol and diesel, 4-liter V8 petrol engine in the 580 or in the 63 model. The 53 model gets also the 3-liter 6-cylinder. To me, the sweet spot is the 3-liter 6-cylinder petrol engine in the GLE 450 indeed. You can also get base engine, for example, in the US with the 350. That one even just with rear-wheel drive. News is that all are equipped now with mild hybrid system, and plug-in hybrids are also available, both petrol and diesel. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the Mercedes GLS 450 facelift, 381 horsepower, now mild hybrid system, and 5.6 seconds is the acceleration figure to 1 km/h or 62 miles an hour. Air suspension already helps here in city driving to even out some bumps and so on. I wouldn't say that it is a super soft setup. You do feel still it's an air suspension, that's good. But it's also not that it's leaning too much in the corners. Very interesting is I found that with an earlier driving test, GLE and GLS, that when you have the E-active body control, it's also feeling a little bit stiffer. You know, you have this leaning into the corner possibility then. At the same time, I feel that you lose a little bit of comfort just, you know, from this evening out things. That was quite quick, to 35 miles an hour. Wow, that went well. So this engine here is definitely more than sufficient. As for the power, do you really need an AMG version? Of course, it's a different kind of thing, but for most use cases, this is totally fine. As for the acceleration, here in the corner you can see doesn't lean too much from the air suspension, but the seats actually don't hold you that tight. There is also, depending on the market spec, the Dynamica microfiber available. There's like a microfiber on the inside. It exists in the AMG line if that's available in your market. And this one actually keeps you a little bit tighter in the seat, so I can recommend that. Then now here on the motorway, 65 miles an hour, so around 100 kilometers an hour. Noise insulation is really good, it's very silent in here. You've also seen the dual insulation glass at first. In the sport mode, already when you have the base suspension, the suspension goes a little bit stiffer. Here in the Airmatic air suspension, of course, even more so. And you can go back from the drive mode and select to the comfort mode. Then the suspension is evening out the waves, for example, a little bit softer, a little bit better. You can drive in any mode. it will still be fine actually. As for the assistance systems, setting in here on the left side of the steering wheel, there is this active lane keeping assist. See here, it's not too proactive. I had to correct myself now. Now it's catching it. There we go. So here now I'm being kept in the lane. Of course, never trust it 100%, for example, when there's a vehicle at the side or something. But it can be something to, let's say, relax a little bit more on the motorway. Just keep your hands in the steering wheel and then let the car do like the fine nuances and so on. How does it behave in a lane change? It's really nice, very smooth indeed. And steering doesn't have a dead zone area. There is always reaction. And it actually feels quite natural. And in agile driving corners, we'll see, is it also sporty fun in the riding? And for the agile driving part here, countryside, I go once again to the sport mode to give us a little bit more feedback from the suspension. Let's see difference here, steering, comfort mode, sport. Yeah, I also get more feedback from the steering. That's actually cool. You could also set an individual mode. For example, if you say suspension soft, but then more feedback from the steering, that would be my tip for today for an individual driving mode actually. The normal air suspension is a little bit stiffer here. The curved mode in the e-active body control would now lean into the corners, but it's such an expensive option, and in the normal driving behavior, I think a normal air suspension setup is cooler actually because it's a little bit softer then. So I would stick either base suspension, go lower budget, or then go with the normal air suspension. I feel it's also good control here in the steering. When I'm in the corners, don't have to steer that much. That's fine. Also when I, for example, accelerate out of a corner, then you have the rear wheel bias, even if you have the all-wheel drive. That's also good that you can have some fun actually getting out of the corners right here. So we felt at home on the motorway. In the city, it's not too big, and here also it's agile enough. It does give you driving fun. And the only thing is here, when you have the slick surface with the seats, they don't offer too much side support. You get used to it, it's okay, but that could be maybe a little bit better. Other than that, it also very well handles this discipline here. The fuel economy, if you have some steady driving, mainly motorway, like 60 miles an hour, 100 kilometers an hour, you can indeed score some good figures of 9 liters on 1 kilometers, 26 mpg US, 31 mpg UK. Of course, more going up in the mountain, then it's a little bit worse. And in the US, it will always be a little bit more efficient, like here at this moment. In Europe, you can calculate with a little bit higher consumption because of the OPF, the particle filter also for the petrol engine, for example. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge. Now with the 53, the GLE 53, also as the coupe. I'll put to the Sports Plus mode and let's accelerate it out. Whoa, that was like already 40 miles an hour. And I even didn't that was like 80% of the pedal. Really nice, and how smooth you see in the steering wheel. It was like an acceleration out of the corner from standstill. Really nicely done. So a very, very controlled acceleration. Rear wheel bias, of course, with this all-wheel drive system here. So you always get out of the corners very well. Difference is you have the same base engine, so to speak, but here with more horsepower tune, 435 horsepower. And with the facelift, with the electrification, this vehicle profits from it because it has even more power or even more boost. So the 450 at 5.6 seconds, then this one here was at 5.3, but now with the facelift at 5 seconds. So there's now a 0.6 second difference in the acceleration figure, 450 to the 53 model. So just more boost, more punch then, and also you heard it, just more sound. Of course, the exhaust is different, and also in the sound emulation on the interior even more so. You just hear more, something also this plop 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 when you get off the throttle. The air suspension is here also set on a stiffer note, and for the 53 is an option. Standard for the 63, you can also get the anti-tilt control, so the car just stays more upright. So indeed this one feels way better here in tighter corners. So you feel as there would be less G-force applied. The seats also hold you tight a little bit more. They have also some microfiber share. Same goes for the steering wheel with microfiber share, which gives me just more control over the vehicle. So here, definitely the recipe the more microfiber you can get, the better it is for the sporty driving. And indeed, I have more fun driving this one here than the 450 in the corners. Of course, there's also a hefty extra price, but it just gives you more sporty feeling being here in this full-size SUV. At least for European taste, it's a full-size SUV. So this is here, or these are the roads where the GLE 53 can really play out its advantages. Do you need the V8 for the 63? Not necessarily. This engine is way, more than enough power-wise, and the 53 is, to me, also a sweet spot. Remember that in the US you can only get the coupe as 53 or 63. So when you're from the US or North American market, this one would be then the coupe to go for actually. And here also once again out of the corners, really nice, good control of the steering, very natural, and I don't have to steer too much. So having a lot of fun in these corners than here. So this is just a sporty difference, and together with the different styling, visualization, also here with the carbon fiber and so on, it feels quite different to the normal GLS 450. Indeed, it's just a question, do you desire this sporty driving feeling, or would you rather say like, I'm buying the GLS more for the relaxed comfort and so on? Then of course, you might as well just stick with the 450. Both, of course, do a good job. Let's take a look at the updated Audi Q8, because recently Mercedes GLE and BMW X5 have been updated. Can Audi say something about this? What have they done? Let's take a look with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go. Here with an upgraded front grille. When you have the S-Line, you have these L forms here in the front grille. Everything with more black design, especially if you have the optional black package, which this vehicle is also equipped with. The standard front grille would have more vertical fins on the inside. Then here the two-dimensional Audi rings. Audi goes for this new CI, corporate identity basically. Saphir Gold is this new color also. Saphir, this desert around the Bahrain racetrack. And yeah, this was the most fitting shirt I could find for you today. Updated headlamps also. So the logic here is normal LED, then matrix LED, and optional HD matrix LED with laser lights. And the latter ones you all can see here. And even in the front, you can already pick different light designs to individualize your vehicle. Towards the side profile, here the length has been unchanged, 4.99 meters or 196 inches. The Q8, as I said, typical competitor of the X5 or the GLE. Wheels now start already at 20-inch, up to 23-inch. These here are 22-inch wheels, so not the biggest ones, not the smallest one. Let's see how the riding comfort is. In the S-Line here also painted wheel arches. So in the vehicle color, the base version would come still with the contrasting wheel arches. In the black pack, you also have the black mirrors here. Technology-wise, already the standard suspension is an adaptive suspension, so an adaptive steel suspension. Optional, also this vehicle is equipped with it, the adaptive air suspension. Of course, then you have a wider span between comfort and sportiness. And you also get a rear axle steering. Then the rear wheels turn up to 5 degrees in the opposite direction than the front wheels. The SQ8 would also offer an anti-tilt control and a sports differential at the rear. New tail lamp design and also OLEDs here in this lower part. Have you seen that? These are the proximity sensors in our studio shots where it was a little bit darker. You can even better see that, how it reacts. And even then in the rear, you can once again pick the individual light signature as design. I think it's a cool idea. Yeah, but then again, it's always an option, so the base vehicle won't have that. But the base vehicles will have this top update here also, and also this, this light strip that goes all the way across. Once again, two-dimensional Audi rings. And then in the lower part, the contrast, the Q8 logo here. This one means that is the S-Line, and the SQ8 would just have the added S dent. So what do you think? Do you like the outgoing model better, or do you like this refresh? And who would have thought that lights one day become a buying or purchase argument for individual brands? Audi wants to stress like, hey, we are the king of lighting, and that's why they also play once again here with these cascading turning indicators, at least in the highest trims. And even fancier it is actually here in the front. Look at that, with this segmented cascading, and a massive success for the Autogefühl fake exhaust police. Thank you so much in the name of the Autogefühl Fake Exhaust Police for supporting it for all these years, because now Audi have switched away from fake exhaust to real exhaust tips once again. Since you also always ask about our locations where we film today, we are really lucky to film outside of Cape Town, so best greetings especially to our South African viewers today. And behind me is so-called Camps Bay. I think this beautiful beach here, so yeah, very fitting to our vehicle color today also. This is the car key here, slim and light, we know that. And look at here, the B-pillar. They have the model naming here now, not to have too many badges on the exterior, so the days of over-badging on the exterior is obviously gone. Then frameless doors with dual installation. Oh. There we go, door closing sound. So you see here, it needs more push actually because of the good installation here. And then it sounds really awesome. That's really rare that a frameless door sounds great. Inside of the door here with microfiber inserts, and I like this galvanization tip here for the window levers, and even they have a clicking sound here when you open or close them. Yeah, these deals I really love. S-line badge you can already see then in the lower part. So we also have S-line interior as well as on the steering wheel, perforation at the side. And these seats here are the best ones you can get actually for the Q8 with the microfiber, also with this special structure on the inside. These are the normal sport seats, and I would definitely go for them. But they're still lagging behind, especially in comparison to BMW, who is offering better materials. They're more sustainable, more animal friendly, and also better in the whole feeling and so on. But these ones are actually then the best. And seating comfort here with 189 or 6'2". A lot of headroom left. This is the one without panoramic roof. You can also get one. And you have good ergonomics, full-size SUV position. Yeah, really feeling it, definitely. Interior cockpit overview. The refreshing thing about this update is that it is not all new, because classic user interface here with the volume control, the steering wheel, then also physical controls to control the digital instruments. There we have some news. For example, when I hit the turning indicator, we have this nicer visualization on the inside now. And then we have this split screen. This is the top infotainment screen, and the lower part is for the climate unit. Yes, I do always prefer physical climate dials, but for a digital solution here, it is fairly easy to use. I don't quite get this new menu tile in the software. This looks to me confusing. This here is very obvious, and then you have just, for example, the car features, or you go back to the home menu, and here the Apple CarPlay integration, wired or wireless. And the same goes for Android Auto. An optional Bang & Olufsen sound system. Yeah, I think good sound quality. Not the most super spectacular ever, but actually very decent. In the middle console, I really like this large shifting lever, pretty cool. Then here, adaptive cup holders, very good build quality. And also here, the middle console with this cover, leather red, and then you fold it up and down like this. And here, you have space then for the smartphone connection, now all in USB-C. Well, I did find an issue here with the middle console. Look at that, this large thing here underneath. It is there that it has this, this effect that you can also fold this whole thing up and down a little bit and slide it forward at the same time. But the problem is, it's so large down there. When you have your smartphone here in the inductive charging pad, it does overheat because it has no cooling. Then you say, I want to connect it with the cable, and then you connect it like this, for example. And then you have to say like, okay, where is the exact space for my smartphone? Like this, maybe. And then how does it fit when it's modern large smartphone? And when you then would put it down, you would smash your smartphone, or then stuff like this happens. Yeah. No, I'm not farting. It's that the seat is just too close to the middle console and it's squeaking. So either put it far away or add some fabric here on the outside. Rear doors also frameless, and then you have this electric shade you can put up and down just by pressing the window lever one more time. This doesn't go down further, but here I think it's a very nice and elegant solution. When I sit behind the driver's seat when I'm driving, I still have enough legroom left. This platform is pretty cool, and then you can adjust the seating angle like here when you pull this lever. This is also the way you fold it completely down for the trunk, and you can also vary the trunk length like this if you want more trunk length, or here if you want most legroom. Even in the middle part you can sit very well. In comparison to the Q7, it's not too big of a compromise. Of course, the Q7 has a little bit more trunk space and so on. And then possible 7-seater. And here in the middle part, you have a nice climate unit also for the rear. It is somewhat with capacitive BS, but then again, you also have at least some clicking sounds. Let's take a look at the trunk measurements, electric hatch, and then we have a good meter or 40 inches in width and even a little bit more than a meter or 40 inches in length. Here, you can see I already folded one part. You can also split individually, but you have to do it from the rear. You cannot unfold them here. The only thing you can do is actually lower it for better loading in and out when you have the air suspension. And in the front part here, you have another small hole, for example, but yeah, you could also have a replacement tire there if you like. As for engines, in Europe you still get the 3-liter V6 diesel. This one here, worldwide the most important engine, the 3-liter V6 turbo petrol engine, 55 TFSI, 340 horsepower, 5.6 seconds is the acceleration figure. Standard quattro overdrive, that means an overdrive with a rear wheel bias. If you want it even quicker, then there would be the SQ8 with 4.1 seconds in the acceleration figure. From the acceleration figure, and that is then from this 4-liter V8. Acceleration. Plop, that was 0 to 80 kilometers an hour. Pretty quick, felt nice, also rear biased acceleration from the overdrive. The LIA meter was also active. Thank you for that. There's always really good to give you a sense of speed, especially if you do not feel the G-forces over the video. So here in the dynamic mode, the air suspension is also set a little bit stiffer and have more feedback from the road. And here when the road is very even, that's pretty cool. And we have beautiful roads here with a nice view. The thing is, when the air suspension is stiff here, in dynamic mode, and you have the 22-inch wheels mounted, yes, it feels cool and sporty. However, it is then also not the most comfortable experience when you're driving over some bumps. So that always depends then on the road condition. As I said, here is absolutely fine, when it's not destroyed or something. But I feel this setup here, and especially with the bigger wheels, you do lose comfort. So you have to be aware of that. So that is definitely an SUV that does have this sporty focus here. Really nice reaction from the steering wheel here. No dead zone, whatever. So I have a very fine feeling for the car. I like that. So it feels very, very well balanced. The rear axle steering helps me when we're driving slower speeds and so on. And it's also not feeling artificial at all. Very good here also when I'm doing some slalom left and right. Once again, the balance and the feeling for the car, that is what is very, very good. And assistance systems here on this countryside road, which is even more crucial, because can this vehicle here keep the lane even if it's more in this bend? Here so far, pretty smooth. Now on the right side, I always keep the control of the vehicle. See here, this one car didn't get. Maybe it's also because one line is yellow, one line is white or something. So yeah, never trust 100% in it. And mainly it's used for Autobahn purposes. But I like to try it also here on countryside lanes because the very, very good systems also do that then in this case here. It is a good system, yes, but you see at some point it also has its limits. When you, by the way, want to switch back again here, for example, you can click in the lower part, not the best selection here to pick the driving modes, or then here like this, click on the screen, yeah. Then here you can go to the comfort mode. In the comfort mode then, some more softness from the suspension then, and also the steering becomes a little bit lighter overall. So this is probably the everyday setting, I would say. It still feels sporty, and I would definitely set the suspension to comfort because otherwise it just gets too rough in bumpy sections and so on. So to me the cool thing is always that although it's large and heavy SUV, because of the great balance, it always feels somewhat lighter and easier to control basically. Here we know at the really slow speeds I feel more from the rear axle steering, but considering it is in rear axle steering, it feels very natural how it reacts and so on. So I've always loved the driving feeling of the Q8, and the updated version here makes no difference to that actually. Yeah, for me it's always pretty strange, of course, here with the left-hand drive traffic, and in a way even stranger to drive left-hand steering wheel with left-hand traffic. usually you have the other one, you know, like the right-hand steering with the left-hand driving and vice versa and so on. But I mean, yeah, after all, you get used to that. It's all adding up to the experience. Changing the temperature, by the way, here while driving is not too bad. So as I said earlier, although it's digital, you can do it actually quite well also while driving. Although physical control always needs no looking at all. Brake feeling also really nice, so you know exactly what you're doing at any time, or when you want to control the volume and so on. I like this classic user interface of the vehicle. You can also use the shifting pedals here to shift down yourself, for example for engine brake when you're going downhill for a longer period of time, or if you want some more RPM, and then you can directly accelerate it out. Yeah, sound-wise I have to say, rather step downwards, but you know, with these new days particle filters, which are also great to keep the particles in, sound has been decreased. Again, for the US versions this will then be a little bit different. So if I could suggest something, I think although it has air suspension, sometimes in potholes too rough. So what can you do against it? I mean, even if you're in the comfort mode here, the only thing you could actually do is pick smaller wheels. Not even the biggest one on this one here, but I think 20 or 21 inches maybe then the best compromise, that you have some cool look still, but you just have a little bit more driving comfort. So my driving impressions here from Chapman's Peak Drive. If you're in the Cape Town area at some point, you should take this road, one of the most beautiful roads in the world, definitely. And here it's more about enjoying the scenic views, and the view outside the vehicle, from the inside to the outside, is actually pretty decent. So I have a good feeling of where the car is ending at every side, and that's not the same with all new vehicles, that you exactly know, have a feeling for the dimensions. But even if you look to the rear there and so on, or to the back mirror, there's no problem at all. And that also shows that the Q8, among this like almost SUV coupe segment, the X6 would of course also be a competitor, or the GLE coupe. The Q8 sits somewhat in between, I would say, but these true coupe silhouette SUVs, they have less overview than when you're sitting on the inside, but that's actually fine here with the Q8. Here also, when the bends are a little bit tighter, rear axle steering is helping me. Is also, by the way, a factor for parking in and out. Maybe you've heard that, just like there was a bump in the road. That's what I meant. You know, when I have an air suspension, I just want a little bit more comfort out of the vehicle. Yeah, but that's the only thing I can really criticize here. Yeah, and probably also the fuel economy. So we will drive it a longer period of time. But it really seems to be that, although it's mild hybrid system here now for the 6 cylinders, the 8-cylinder does not have that. And although it's not like the most fuel-consuming engine of all time, and I know this engine for a very long time, but here, obviously, also when the AC has to work a lot, the consumption seems to go quite high, and we'll put it in the video description and in the comment below, in the pinned comment, and then tell you more about that. By the way, instead of choosing the driving modes, which sometimes can be complicated, you can just always pull the shifting lever here to the S shifting mode, and then you have a nicer acceleration immediately. That's actually pretty cool, and it's also an easy and quick way to, you know, be a little bit more spontaneous with it, and always pull it back. Also the sound feedback it gives you, right? And of course also clicking sounds and so on. Yeah, that brings me back to one of the crucial points, that the user interface is still really good, and you know exactly always what you are doing.
You're in the market for a German SUV, and you've narrowed your choice down to the Mercedes GLC and the Audi Q5, but which is the right one for you? You're watching Autogefühl, I'm AJ, and it so happens today I have the GLC 300 4MATIC with the AMG line. On the other side I have the Audi Q5 45 TFSI Quattro S-Line. On paper, they're very similar SUVs. They both start at around 57,000 euros for the respective trims. They have 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder petrol engines. They both have all-wheel drive, 5 seats, but let's get into the details. Let's take a look at the design. Now, for both of these SUVs, you get different design packs. Here you get the AMG line with these really small Mercedes star logos right here, or rather these stars in the middle. Looks very nice. This is the new 2023 model year on the new C-Class platform. A lot of options on both of these test cars. For example, this gets the optional digital lights the LED with the projectors. On the other side with the Q5, very smart looking design, the traditional Audi grille in the front. Even though the GLC is all new for 2023, the silhouette is very familiar. But that isn't to say that it's not beautiful. I think Mercedes, with their classic design, it's all about smooth lines and sophistication. Different wheel options are available starting at 19 inches, like the one you see here. This is AMG line, but also has this aerodynamic design. I also like the floorboard. The Q5, on the other hand, while very similar, seems a little bit more compact lengthwise. And these are actually much larger wheels. These are 21 inch and they definitely look a lot more sporty, fill the wheel arches really nicely and still give you a little bit of sidewall for that extra added comfort. Talking about the rear design of the GLC, I do like the spoiler. I like this horizontal black insert here. The tail lamps are also nice and horizontal. What I don't like so much, for example, are these completely fake cosmetic exhaust tips. But I'm so used to this now. It's been around for such a long time. It's old news. Are you guys making your peace with it? Are you accepting it? Put it down in the comments below. But at least it does redeem itself with this diffuser here on the rear. If you take a closer look, you can notice that the indicator lights on the GLC are not cascading. If we take a look at the Q5 now, we can start with that right away. You see that it does have that cascading effect. Not a big deal, but I like these little details. It adds to that extra feeling of sophistication and luxury. But the design definitely on the Q5 is a little bit more subdued. Same story down here though. Completely fake cosmetic exhaust tips, but same as well with the diffuser. Here is the key fob, nice and heavy, but of course you have keyless entry. Let's take a look at the door closing sound. Really robust, no shimmies or shakes with the latch and the clamp here. Neither did the rear door shimmy or shake or rattle, so really robust build quality. And now let's talk about the main difference between these two SUVs, their interior. Take a quick look at this red leather right here on the door. And of course you don't have to have red leather. You can pick even artificial leather, the Artico seats, which are a little bit softer. And in fact, you can even get those Artico seats with cooling function. But nice soft materials up there. Slightly harder materials down here. Definitely a lot more exciting interior. You can either love it or hate it. But I think objectively, if you ignore the color of the seat, this is definitely a lot more intricate in its design. Let's take a quick look inside. Getting inside is really easy. Again, you have that SUV stand, so you get a higher ground clearance. You have a taller roof line, so you get that ingress with a lot of ease. And first impression is wow. If the Audi Q5 interior is like a well-tailored suit that a German businessman would wear, the GLC interior is like a Met Gala red carpet gown. It's very evocative, very sensual. The steering wheel can also be adjusted for reek and rage, and in this case we also have it adjustable electronically. And I am 5'8" or about 1.7 meters, thereabout, and I have plenty of headroom. Here we have the key fob for the Q5, also with keyless entry. There we go. The door, I think, sounded pretty good. I didn't see or hear any shimmies or shakes between the two doors, so very robust. And now you can really see that stark contrast between these two SUVs and their interiors. That isn't to say, however, that this is not well built. The materials are still very nice up here on the top. This is a nice, interesting inlay. You have this kind of suede-like material here. Nice padding, and good to see there's actual physical controllers. A lot more traditionally designed, I would say. With this being the S-Line, you have the S-Line seats, which have the Dynamica microfiber insert along with animal leather. Very comfortable, a lot of adjustment even for the steering column in terms of reach and rake. Plenty of headroom for me at my height, and yeah, definitely doesn't feel cramped in here. Cockpit overview. Well, let's test materials. Very soft on the top, but this inlay here seems a bit hollow if I tap it, and so does this. So a little bit points deduction there, but you know what? I like this. This is very functional. As you can see, we have actual physical buttons and knobs. So when you're driving, you don't have to take your eyes off the road. Your hands fall neatly where they need to, and you can use muscle memory to manipulate these things and you have that haptic feedback. The overall grip and comfort of the steering wheel is really nice, and further enhanced by the fact that you have physical buttons and rollers for the volume control here, a configurable hot start button here, a hotkey button. And if we take a look at the digital cockpit, you also see that I can change the view very easily. Simple old school buttons which work really well. I have a nice wheel to scroll through the different menu. And by the way, we can already take a look at this right here, the long-term memory. So I've been testing both of these cars for the past few days, and both have been returning very similar mileage. So again, very similar in terms of the engine power and drivetrain and their efficiency as well, because of the similar weight. I would say reasonably you can expect it to be around 8.7 to 9 liters for 100 kilometers, depending on your driving style. This also has a head-up display, a very big contrast to the screen on the GLC. This is more horizontal and up here significantly higher. I also like this screen though, it works really well. It has a nice clicking sound when you click on it. The color scheme is a little bit darker. You have different options for the car settings, including the Audi Drive Select, and you have different options for the driving profile, including an individually customizable physical knobs to control the air conditioning, seat heating, because these don't have seat cooling in this particular seat version. And you have also toggle switches here, so if you even touch them, you see what option this is for. This is for which vents. Gear selector, electronic parking brake, and down here you have the sliding armrest, which we can raise. So let's talk about the design, since that's definitely the pièce de résistance here in the GLC. Nice wood texture inlay up here. Seems very solid, so if I were to tap this, I don't get a very hollow sound. Flanked by these aluminum or chrome kind of accents along with these stripes. Generally, very lovely design, kind of like a cascading waterfall. Further heightened by the ambient lighting that's everywhere inside the car, especially in the front, even inside these air vents. And the funny thing is, if you change the temperature from hot to cold, it becomes blue, and if it's cold to hot, it becomes red momentarily. So getting a good grip. The paddle shifters also fall really easily to hand. And yes, you have capacitive buttons to control these things, but I think, they have done the best they can, because first of all, these are on separate spokes, so it's easier to just feel which one you need to go to. And then because they also have these little ridges and indentations, it's also a little bit easy to feel which button you need to press. And they do actually have a click function, so when you press the button, for example, it does also do the same function as tapping it. So you have that option to press to get that more tactile haptic feedback. The instruments are also completely digital, so a lot of functionality and a lot of customization options. I can have a sport display, I can have, for example, the off-road display, or even just have a full navigation map here. This car also comes equipped with the head-up display as well. The head-up display is also much better than the Q5. The colors are vivid. Actually, the real estate, so the area that it's covering, is also quite large. You have a nice map for the navigation, and in general, definitely my pick over the two. The tech in the GLC is definitely new age as compared to the Q5. For example, you have this really large touchscreen here. The bad news is that, for example, the climate control is completely controlled in the touchscreen. At least it stays always present here, so you don't have to open a separate menu. You can go into more details, but it's always down here. Close that with this button here. Below the center armrest is further storage, along with a little tray and a couple more USB-C. The rear door is actually quite long, so the length of the GLC kind of has been increased a little bit with this new generation. In my seating position, for my height, again 5'8", there's definitely no lack of room inside. I have enough space to slide my feet underneath because I have put my seat a little bit higher. And for taller people who have to sit behind tall people, so Thomas behind Thomas, for example, it does get a bit tight. The scooped out back of the seat does help quite a bit, and it's definitely better than before. Headroom is, I think, definitely sufficient even if you're taller. Nice panoramic sunroof in this case, which also lets in a lot of light. It's very sunny today, so I've kept that closed. Let's take a look at the rear of the Q5. I would say, even though this might not be as long, the entry into the rear row seems a little bit wider, which is useful if you have to put in child seats. You even have a slight variation. You can have the rear seat a little bit more upright, or you can also recline it a little bit, so a little bit more flexibility. Space-wise, this is, I would say, pretty much the same as the GLC for my size at 5'8", sitting behind myself. GLC is a little bit bigger, so let's see if that translates to a lot of space on the interior of the trunk. This is 620 liters of boot space. This is definitely more than the Audi Q5. It's very rectangular. With the air suspension, this also lowers itself, and there's also switches to tumble the rear seats. Things are a little bit different on the Q5. First of all, you have this it was very funny when I saw this for the first time, and it still remains a bit funny that you have this blank space here on either side when you open the Q5. And that does definitely impede into the loading area that you have here, because it does take up a little bit of the width. That being said, this is definitely not what you would call impractical. This is still 520 liters of boot space. You have very flat and low loading area. You have these manual switches here, and as you can tell, they don't tumble all the way down. You got to go back and click them down here. Both of these SUVs are also very similar under the hood. They both have 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder petrol engines with mild hybrid technology, 4-wheel drive and automatic transmissions. They're both also about 4.7 meters long and weigh an identical 1.8 tons. Both of these actually get air suspension, so adaptive air suspension comes on both of these cars. The unique thing about the GLC, which is really interesting, is that it gets rear axle steering. The GLC, let's see. First of all, let's talk about the comfort now, since Mercedes is really all about that comfort. With the air suspension, you would expect that this has that very typical Mercedes, like in the E-Class or the S-Class, that wafting hovercraft, magic carpet ride, call it what you will, feeling. And the truth is, you don't really see that right away. It does feel soft. I think that's the best word to describe it. It does feel very soft, but it doesn't just glide over everything and level the SUV. But that being said, if I go to the sport mode, it actually does tighten up. The change between comfort and sport is quite significant. The drivetrain feels a lot more responsive. The steering feels like it's just been dialed in tighter. And that rear axle steering honestly makes such a big difference. Sure, you might not really need it in a car of this size. So the Q5, trust me, it works fine without it. But it's that added benefit which is very noticeable. And you will end up using that to your benefit. Like, I've been parking this car in front of my house, and if it was a very narrow street, I usually have to parallel park, and then in the morning when I come out, the guy in front and the guy in the back have left me no space. I would have had to do like a 10-point turn going back and forth. But with this, I find that I can just back it up a little bit with this great 3D view and then just swing the car out. It's really fantastic. Whereas on the highway at higher speeds, it turns in parallel, so in the same direction as the front wheels, thereby elongating the wheelbase, making the car feel a lot more planted and less jittery. The assistance systems also come to the forte here, because the traffic sign recognition system I found works really well. The controls for that, we were speaking about the haptic buttons here, are actually not bad. I like the system because you have 2 separate spokes, so I'm not trying to fiddle around with just a couple buttons that are supposed to do many functions. No, I have a dedicated arm right here for the assistance systems, and I have a dedicated button to turn between the limiter or the speed, the adaptive cruise control, the distance. So there are individual functions. All right, so now the Q5. How does it compare, and which is the right one for you? First impressions are that the Q5 feels a lot more car-like to drive than the GLC did. Very interesting. So the air suspension here feels a lot more composed. Sure, it's not as soft as the GLC was, as the Mercedes, but it still doesn't have harshness to it, so it does take away the sharpness and from undulations and bumps on the street. And it's not as wafty or as supple as the Mercedes, but it definitely lends a much better composure to the Q5 than the suspension does for the Mercedes, the one that it has. The steering as well, although I don't really like this ridge too much, feels a lot more connected, even in the comfort mode. Furthermore, you can just pick auto for the driving dynamics, and this will adapt itself with these different parameters to your driving style in the moment it needs to adapt. So it's really carefree. I can just leave it in automatic and not have to worry about it. So in that way, the Q5 already feels a lot more grown up, a lot more mature. Again, reflected in this interior. Objectively, it's not a bad interior. It's a lot more functional than the GLC because of the buttons that you can use. But what definitely sticks out right away is the technology. You know, the head-up display is not as crystal clear, does not have the complexity that the GLC does. The rear view camera is so bad. The resolution is definitely one generation too old. And even if you do get the optional additional advanced parking package and so on, it's still nowhere as nice as the Mercedes is. But the seats are also really comfortable. I would say between the two of them, they're both similar in their width and similar in the way that they support you. The actual ergonomics or the contours are definitely different. But then again, this is the S-Line seat. That was the Power Red seat. You can choose different versions of seats and materials, and that itself will make a big difference. But given the size of the body of the SUV, the Q5 feels a little bit more spacious for the front driver. And that's partly because of the center console, I would say. In the GLC, you're cocooned by like this arcing center console that it looks lovely, but it does, for example, impede some leg room, right? We spoke about that. Here, you don't have that issue. You still have soft padding in case it does touch, but it's definitely a lot more narrow and a lot lower. So this center area feels a lot more spacious. So there's a little bit more space, you know, at least the sensation of that. You can also get a panoramic sunroof for the Q5, and that will further enhance the feeling of space inside. So let's talk about some of the assistance systems. Now, to control that, you have, again, a little bit old-fashioned stock, which is a very familiar stock to me in this family of Audi and Volkswagen and so on. And you can set it, and you know, now that I've been spoiled with the new stuff in the GLC, I would say this stock is not as easy to use. Sure, I think it's not, the problem isn't that you have to kind of reach down with your pinky, or once you get used to it, you can do it quite quickly. But it's just that I still have to kind of move my hand down, and I would have liked it to just be here with my thumb, reachable with my thumb. But the system is still very smart. It has traffic sign recognition. It also has like a predictive feature where it will know from the navigation that, okay, you're entering from 130 to 100 speed limit zone, and it will already start slowing you down. So you are at 100 when you cross that traffic sign versus reacting to having detected the traffic sign. The gap between the comfort mode and the sport mode in the GLC was huge. That gap was so big. Whereas here, it's just a little bit different. You know, it's just like a 10% change here, 10% change there, 10% tightness in the suspension, 10% tightness in the steering rack, so on and so forth. Versus there, it was like a 50% difference. So definitely you have a bit more versatility and variability in the GLC and the Mercedes than you do here in the Audi. Did you make up your mind on which one you would take? No? Well, remember when I said that these two trims start at 57,000 euros? Sure, but the options are a lot and are very expensive. This GLC, with all the options that it has, stands at 92,000 euros. That's a lot of money. That's GLE territory. The Q5, on the other hand, is a much more modest 79,000 euros. But it doesn't have the panoramic sunroof or some of the additional things like the advanced parking assist. So let's call that 83,000 euros with a more comparable spec. That's still a big price difference. And furthermore, this is an older generation, so you might be able to get a better discount on this from your local Audi dealer. So price is definitely an important aspect to consider when you're making a purchase decision. But the truth is, you know where your money's going when you get the GLC. The interior, the technology, That's where it's going. It's definitely much more upmarket, it's much more luxurious. Sure, it's a little bit more flamboyant, but you can tone that down with different colors on the seats, for example, and it still comes out being objectively much more sophisticated or much more design-oriented interior. Plus, the rear view camera, the 360 camera, the tech in general is much better than the Q5. So therefore, this is definitely my pick.
This here is the all-new Audi Q5, new generation, new platform, combustion engine, mild hybrid, plug-in hybrid, everything you need to know about this here with Thomas Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. And we start here with our ultra blue Q5. This is here the SQ5, the performance model that will come again. And usually the SQ5 would have bright accentuations here around the front grille. However, this one here equipped with the extended black package, and therefore everything then here is darked out, so you can pick it like this. Also then here with the darkened out Audi rings, but you do not have to do that. In general, the new Q5 generation is more aerodynamic, so small optimizations here and there, even in the underfloor and so on and so on, and supposed to bring you more efficiency. Soon more to that when we talk about the engines under the hood. New light technology, here this then the optional matrix LED. You have LED, LED Plus, and then the matrix LED as the top trim. You can pick individual light signatures, for example, and you also have these turning cascading indicators, cascading turning indicators. That's the way. This is the way. And then towards the side profile, slightly increase in length, like 3.5 centimeters or 1.5 inches in comparison to the predecessor. This here now 4.72 meters or 186 inches. Wheels from 17 to 21 inch, and these are indeed the biggest one available. Wow, this looks really stunning, doesn't it? In this case also here with the red brake calipers as a contrast for the SQ5. And you can see it has this typical SUV shape, strong shoulder area or hip area, and it will also be again available as the Q5 or SQ5 Sportback, where it's a little bit cut off then here in this area. This is to come a little bit later. The SUV version will launch first. You can also see here the wheel arches are painted in vehicle color like this. And then in this case then you have with the SQ5 here this high gloss black insert then at the side together with the black package, of course. As I said, usually it would look a little bit more brighter, contrastish, but this is then this more sinister look. Suspension-wise, you get a fixed base suspension, a fixed sports suspension. However, they already have a passive dampening with the frequency adaptive dampers. That means depending on the amplitude, like a strong or like a, we have a wave or you have cobblestones, it basically has a wider span of comfort and sportiness, but in a passive way. You cannot adjust it actively. However, you can still do that if you go for the optional air suspension, which we also have equipped here with our SQ5 here today. And that one then, when you select the sport mode, it gets stiffer, comfort mode gets softer and so on. Air suspension in this segment of course always pretty cool. The GLC is also offering that from Mercedes. And yeah, Leah just said like, wait a minute, isn't that like a little bit of Mercedes GLC form here now on the rear? Yeah, maybe a little bit, but the difference is that Audi works here also with these overlapping features, whereas the GLC more looks like an egg shape in the rear. So this is like here, this overlapping thing that is still special for Audi. And one thing they want to do with that is here, highlight the light technology, because Audi says now, we are a light brand. Not like light and, you know, like not strong, but lights, you know, like a brand for light signatures and so on, yeah. And one thing they do, for example, yeah, you bought the Matrix LED as an option, and on top of that, you can buy the OLED, the organic LED. No, it's not alive, and you don't, it's nothing about animal rights or something. They're dead, but they're still called organic LED, and you can see they seem to be alive, because even here stationary, they change a little bit, and this is here the approaching light. So here, you can see here, they change a little bit like this, statically already. And then sometimes when, you know, it's working better with vehicles, but here when the sensors are blocked, I try to be a vehicle now, let's see. Sometimes it works better when, yeah, it works better when there's a car behind, but you've just seen it, and there's like this approaching light basically. Yeah, this is very interesting because this signals like when someone is getting too close to you, and you know there are these guys that always need to drive like this close to you, even also at the traffic light, and then they say like, hey, wait a minute, stop, that's getting too close. And yeah, why not? And this communication, there it is again. You can see this kind of like fills up. So yeah, that's very interesting. Yeah, there we go. Leah has the magic. And even more interesting, look at that. This is the normal rear braking light here on the top. But underneath, there is a new projection light. And you can see that when I'm now getting inside and hit the brake. So there we go. So now look at that. So you have the normal rear braking light. And then this additional projection that looks really fancy, doesn't it? And it is projected in the windscreen. But when you look at it from the lower part, you can also see where it is actually coming from. So yeah, great filming by Leah as well. So this is a very interesting light idea. And also when we hit the turning indicators, you can see this cascading form once again. And just checking, is this also like this? There is this triangle. So this is an additional warning. This is also something they want to introduce here with the new light technology and so on. So say like, hey, warning for everyone behind you. For example, also when you do an emergency braking, this could also be something that could be used. So yeah, very interesting ideas. And I mean, I'm really a fan of this projection. Could we see that very well? What was it good? Yeah. It's, pretty cool ideas, definitely. I mean, these are not features that are a must-have. They are a can-have, but I have to say, why not? What do you think? And yeah, it's the SQ5, the 3-liter V6, and there we can also see the massive exhaust. They look pretty cool, don't they? Left and right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, sorry. I mean, with all the details and so on, sometimes counting goes wrong. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it. A fifth one, I don't know. Maybe in the middle. Mehr med der Teugung. Acoustic front windshield, by the way, is standard. Option, you can also get acoustic side windows for better NVH comfort. However, acoustic side windows in the rear are not available. Okay, and then let's talk about the engines. Lift it up, and we're starting here with the most powerful one, the typical well-known 3-liter V6 here in the SQ5, 367 horsepower. All-wheel drive, still with a rear-wheel bias. Here I also have this nice Audi Sport design. But if you want to go a little bit more efficient, you start with the 2-liter TFSI, so like turbo petrol engine, 204 horsepower, front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive, and the 2-liter TDI, also 204 horsepower and all-wheel drive. Later on, there are plug-in hybrids to come based on a 2-liter TSI as well, and then with a new bigger battery, so around 26 kWh gross, probably again 20 kWh net battery like in the other VAG products, and they will also have a relatively high horsepower output. Interesting is that all engines, besides the plug-in hybrid, that is like a bigger plug-in hybrid anyway, so here the V6 and also the 2-liter turbo engines, diesel and petrol, they all have mild hybrid technology, 48-volt board net, with a relatively large battery for an MHEV system, so 1.7 kWh gross battery. So considering then it's not a plug-in hybrid or a typical like Toyota built-in hybrid, relatively big battery, so that means you will have some electric moments when rolling, you can recuperate energy and so on, or regenerate energy. And the thing is that this is supposed to give you more efficiency, at the same time also a little bit more power boost. And here this vehicle is Tambora Grey S-Line, but not the SQ5. However, S-Line and SQ5 are pretty similar in the styling, just that this one does not have the black package in this case. And you can see here the brighter Audi rings, which look more present, I feel, especially when they are not three-dimensional, but now more two-dimensional in this new styling. I think it is needed that they are bright, because otherwise you look in the back mirror and when the rings are darkened, I was like, what is this? I don't even know what brand this is, you know? So I think it's really important to have the bright Audi rings and not to dark them out, my opinion. Maybe you think differently. We can also see the gray here, accentuations, also here at the sides. Once again, painted wheel arches. You can also get exactly this color as contrasting wheel arches, but of course it doesn't work then when it's also this paint, but you could go for a different paint and then this color as a contrasting paint, but there is no black plain plastic wheel arch anymore, so they want to give that like a more upmarket styling. I do prefer here the chrome frames around the window. Do you? Tell me in the comments please. And also 21-inch wheels, but in a different styling. I think they look also pretty stunning. And then towards the rear, what is very interesting, here you can once again see this Audi Sport badge, just that this does not have an S then. So this means then a Q5 in the S line. And indeed, no fake exhausts anymore, because even here the 2-liter TFSI, like the lower petrol engine, has a real exhaust. The air does go through. So indeed, years of work for the Autogefühl fake exhaust police have paid off, and Audi has removed the fake exhaust. It was such an interesting story behind it, because with the Q5 facelift that was introduced a couple of years ago, they actually improved the fake exhaust and made them, you know, like an edge inside, that they look more real as a fake. And then, you know, obviously all the customers and so on, and also we thought that's too much, and Audi realized that, got our feedback also from you in our comment section, and said, okay, we go for the real exhaust stuff again. And yeah, you can buy our merch now. This is like the 4K Let's Go t-shirt. You can get this one now. It's out now in our shop. It's under the video and also linked in the pinned comment video description. And of course, we still have our famous fake exhaust police t-shirt. You can get this too. And Leah discovered a very nice feature here with these wheel caps. Look at that. You can actually turn them and then they return to the original stage again.
That's nice.
Yeah, a little bit Rolls-Royce styling. What about that? Onto the interior, matte. Black key, I like it actually, light, but still feels classy. Door closing sound. That's nice. Also check out the rear. Also pretty good, so I like that. Then inside of the doors, and we'll give you 2 different interiors very soon. Here, this is like somewhat soft touch, not super hard, but also not very soft. Then in this case here, with this trim, we have the microfiber on the inside. This complaining the key is not in the vehicle now. And what I like here, the matte black, so no high gloss black or something. This looks actually quite fancy. Here, this control of the seat memory function and also light that went on the inside of the doors. This has pro and con. I'm soon going to show you why. Inside of the door is, however, not covered with felt or something. There's just a rubber pad on the lower ground. And then you can see S-line. So we have an S-line entry badge. And also the steering wheel, but this is also pretty similar then to the real S model. And we have this new curved panoramic screen. We already know it from the Audi Q6 e-tron, and this has been basically carried over. Soon more to that. Interesting also here, this decor element, different ones are available. This is, I would say it's okay. Why not? It looks a little bit plastic-y, I would feel. But in the SQ5 I also have a different decor element, which looks a little bit fancier. I'm soon going to show that to you. Seat from the comfort here is actually quite good. Then here, 189, 6 for 2. Still a lot of headroom left, although this is here the panoramic roof. And this is also still a panoramic roof you can actually open. So yeah, that leaves a lot of air in. That's actually pretty fancy. Audi Q5 convertible, right? Seats, you get base fabric seats or the sport seats, S-Line or SQ5. These are the one here with the integrated head restraint and this stamped in S logo. And they are available here, for example, also with the microfiber Dynamica. Dynamica is the company producing that. Isofix on here on the front seat as well, passenger side. So this would also be my favorite option. Very nice, you know, from the stitching here as well, you know, in this styling. So I really like this quilted styling. Animal-free seats, well, only the base fabric seats, but Audi does not offer an animal-free interior, also not from the steering wheel yet. So there needs to be done from Audi, you know, needs to be done more from Audi in that respect. Then the steering wheel itself has a very nice size, I would feel, and has capacitive buttons on it, but you feel the feedback. This is then here screens. So you have standard here, this curved unit, and this is basically split in 12-inch on the left, 14.5 central, now Android Automotive base on the back end side, and then optional, the one you can see here, the passenger screen, then yeah, like this, 11-inch, or 10.9 to be exact. And this is an option. You do not have to go for that one. There would be like a decor element otherwise at this place. There's always a discussion, do you need it or not? I don't feel a necessity for it. Some others like it. Yeah, and then YouTube streaming is, by the way, now also possible with this vehicle. Here they still have a manual volume knob like this, at least. Drive select for the drive modes. You can click here and also click it through, so that is possible, otherwise in the infotainment. And then here, 2 USB-C chargers or inductive charging pads. This also has some cooling holes against overheating. Then the cup holders are adaptive and also with a nice ambient lighting integration. Also, this whole middle console has this slight ambient lighting integration. This is the shifting lever, D or S, sport mode or reverse for forward. Then you have this middle console right here. You can fold it up. This, I think, will be redesigned later on because underneath here, this for these prototype vehicles, they have like this fail-safe switch. Because it's like, you know, when you have these first prototype vehicles, they need to have these safety mechanisms in place, that's, you know, by law. So I think this will be a little bit lower than in the very final model. And here you can also adjust the armrest in here in height. So here when the door is open very wide and you reach for it like this, then you're basically touching these command fields here. So you have to remind yourself, yeah, but this can be too wide when the door is really open. And I have already long arms, you know, so this is like one of the problems here with this unit, this control unit, when it's at the inside of the doors right there. Then the driver POV right here. Once again, 2-dimensional Audi rings. Here you can adjust, for example, the view in the digital instruments. They are very clear to read, so that's actually fine. And yeah, like the layout we know from the Q6 e-tron recently. And you also get a head-up display like this. And there we also once again see our SQ5, where we soon get over once more. And then when you look to the right, you have this new large infotainment system, the largest that is available with Audi at this moment. Here you can also pick the individual driving modes, for example, and you can see the air suspension also adjusts to that. So a completely new view here to everything. This is then here this standard main menu like this. Climate unit is in the lower part. You click it here, for example. My fingers are not particularly short, but then here, what am I supposed to do with the rest of my hand? Then like do like this or like that? So I mean, there needs to be space to, you know, like to make a finger. And you see what I mean? This is a huge design issue. Am I supposed to rest my hand like this and then do like that? And then you don't, I don't know. So this is to me a big design fail here in the interior. Rear seats here, the door doesn't open too wide for installing child seats and so on. Then the door on the inside, yeah, somewhat soft touch on top, but not too soft though. Then here also have the microfiber insets here, and this very trim. That's actually quite cool. And yeah, I like this, you know, more matte effect here. That's not all high gloss black, so I would favor this trim. No covering at the inside of the doors though, just a small rubber pad at the very lower bottom. Then also then the microfiber insets here in this trim, also on the seats in the rear. And Isofix on the outsides each, and this is here the lever to control the back part of the seat. So you can have different positions than here. And let's see about the space. So behind the seats as I would be driving, you see you can use this recess here. It is close as for the legroom. Yeah, it does fit, but barely, I would say. And headroom with 189s, 6'2". Here with the panoramic roof, also barely fits, so it's not too much space in the rear. You can move this bench, by the way, so that's possible here front and back, so you can get a little more trunk space by that, for example. And as I said here, you can also move the inclination like this or more backward. The comfort itself on the back seats is actually fine, just yeah, that it's not too much space. In the middle part you can also sit, yeah, but it's definitely stiffer than here. Usually you have the outside seats then for most comfort. Then you can slide this down here, and the adaptive cup holders, that's actually quite nice. So like this, and you can also press the button here and then use this one here as a single ski hatch to load things through. Then you have here 2 USB-C chargers in the top, and here also a separate climate unit for the rear. Then to the trunk or the boot or the Kofferraum, then we have all the different languages. Kofferraum, listen and repeat. Kofferraum is like luggage room would be the direct translation, German to English. Kofferraum it is. Some German lessons always here. Then here we can see is approximately a meter or 40 inches in width and a little bit less than a meter or 40 inches in length. And the height here is about 74 centimeters or 29 inches. And I've already removed here this shelf on the top part, which is very interesting. I'm soon going to show that to you here. For example, we can deploy the towing hook underneath, then it comes out. There we go. Then 2 tons for the front-wheel drive version, 2.4 tons for all all-wheel drive versions, like here also the SQ5. If you have the air suspension, you can also here lower the vehicle in the rear a little bit for easier loading in and out. This step here has become a little bit less than before actually. Did I say 520 liters already? So it's 520 liters in total, but they still wanted to keep a little bit of a step that, you know, when you accelerate hard, like here with the SQ5, and then maybe after it open the trunk, like nothing is falling towards you or something. That was the reason behind it. And now to this parcel shelf, which is really interesting because you can hide it underneath. It's a great idea. So here you can put this one up, and there it is. You can store it there. So you need to remove this part here. This is not the most beautiful thing then. And then it's like here, I need to push it a little bit like this here. And then you put it here in first, and then you push it on the other side a little bit. So because you know that these things, they maybe fly around in the garage or something, but by that you can always take it with you. It's cleverly and cleanly stored. There we go. Wasn't too bad. So this, by the way, like some charging equipment here for the studio, that the battery doesn't get empty when the lights are running all time. So this is not standard equipment in this case. Yeah, what is standard equipment with the modern Audi? Hardly anything. That's the thing. That's also the thing why people tend to buy Teslas now, because they say, hey, I just pay one price and have everything included and don't have to owe like 3,000 years in the configurator. However, what Audi is doing, that they try to make it a little bit more simplified and do more like packages instead of like all single individual options. So more going in the like US market strategy and so on. So then here we can also install it, like, slide in there and then press it like this. And there we go. And then we have our classic slider here, the classic cover. There we go. And we can also fold the seats left and right. Yeah, for that it would have been better when it's still out. Sorry for that. But I think you can still very well see it. Then you have to go through, and then you can push it down to fix it really. Yeah, that doesn't really work yet because of the front seat. But you can fix it here on the lower part, and then you have to unfix it again, unlock it again to put it up. And the complete length would be 1.75 m or 69 inches. And this is here our SQ5 interior, with the only difference that, yeah, the ambient lighting has a different color, but you can individualize that here, this light bar and so on. Well, the only real difference is here, the different decor element, but you can also choose that. In this case here, it's like an open cell carbon fiber, I would say. So this does not have this typical covering, this high gloss covering. You can really feel the carbon fiber, and I think that's actually a little bit cooler. But yeah, you can switch decor elements and ambient lighting colors anyway, so I really have to say that S-Line and SQ5 interior are more or less the same. So tell me, what do you think about the all-new Audi Q5? And the big question will be, of course, how does it rate to the competitors? This here is the perhaps most anticipated version of the all-new Mercedes GLC, the Mercedes-AMG GLC 43. And we're going to find out, is it a very good performance everyday driving SUV, and is it actually better than the GLC 63, which has this performance plug-in hybrid concept, this one here without the plug-in hybrid? So will this less in weight be better for the driving performance, and would I recommend this one? We're going to find out here together with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go. And the GLC 43 already has this wider body kit. See it here, just a big stance on the road, and then the vertical fins here with the Panamericana front grille. Really aggressive front look. High-tech silver is our vehicle color for today, and we also have these black contrasts. Then you have here the digital light in this case. This is then the most sophisticated LED option. You can also see this blue contrast, at least on the European market. And really strong accentuations already here on top of the hood, and you now also have the AMG badge here on top of the hood, whereas you still have the really wide Mercedes star where they hide the sensors behind. And indeed, I can already tell you so far, the 43 version here of the GLC is over 300 kilograms lighter than the GLC 63 version, which, as I said, has now this performance plug-in hybrid concept. This one here, a mild hybrid powertrain, but soon more to the engine. In the side profile, 4.75 m or 187 inches in length. Yes, it's a couple of centimeters longer than the normal GLC because of the spoiler overhang and so on. Of course, same wheelbase. Then you have here 20-inch wheels for today with this aerodynamic design. Of course, different designs are possible. And in Europe, you would start with 19-inch wheels for the entry for the 43. In the US, you already, or North American market, you already start with 20-inch wheels. And optional, you could even go to 21-inch wheels. Suspension-wise, this is really interesting today. So, the normal GLC comes with a standard suspension or optional an air suspension, but on the European market. And also optional in the package comes together with the rear axle steering, 4.5 degrees in the opposite direction. That package is not available on the Northern American market. However, now here with the GLC 43, it's different. You somewhat have something in between, an adaptive suspension, which is not an air suspension, and it's also available even standard on the Northern American market. So the 43 version always has the same suspension worldwide, and it's adaptive, it has a sporty AMG trim, and it even comes with a rear axle steering. Just that here it's not 4.5 degrees in the opposite direction than the front wheels, but 2.5. So not as much, but it still helps in more agility at lower speeds and also parking in and out in the basement garage and so on. Doing a U-turn is easier. So actually, this is then the only possibility for you, besides 63 version, to have a rear axle steering on the North American market. Very interesting. We also see how it turns out and how it is in driving. Then the rear here with this tail lamp design, really round structures. What I found peculiar is that the logos seem to be offset, not straight. But it's not that the logos are not straight, it's because of design of the vehicle, because it has this round structure here. Then of course the logos are straight on it, but they look, you know what I mean? I would expect a logo like this, but it's just the design of the vehicle. But yeah, just a peculiar thing. Then, let's see if the Autogefühl fake exhaust police has something for you here today. Looks massive here on the outside, and yeah, but the real exhaust is then on the inside. It does go through the air somewhat, but still I would say alert for the Autogefühl fake exhaust police. Flying from the logos to the turning indicators, and here in the front I think they're pretty cool, nice integration. This digital light here, by the way, the Matrix LED, is also standard for the 43 model. And at the rear, yeah, that's maybe a little bit disappointing. Not such a cool integration like in the front. Interesting that under the hood here, yes, it's a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine. No 6-cylinder here anymore for the 43 model. Interesting dome strut here, pretty cool, right? Yeah, it's still like an AMG tuned engine. In this case then here 420 horsepower roundabout, mild hybrid system, so you have some electric boost and also recuperation possibilities. And the acceleration figure is at 4.8 seconds. For the 63 it would be 3.5 seconds. So yes, the 63 is quicker, but then the highest peak is only when the battery is at a certain status, and then the question is if you accelerate a couple of times, in succession and so on. But this one always has a constant power output, and as I said, 335 kilograms lighter than the 63 model. So I'm really anxious to see how it plays out. The all-wheel drive distribution, by the way, is 30/70, so a strong rear-wheel bias. This is the key fob. Really heavy, nice quality, and door closing sound. Also solid like that. Nice. Yeah, that's the car nerd stuff, right? Then inside of the doors, everything covered. Also a nice integration of the ambient lighting. However, a lot of high gloss black use, and there's no real cover here at the inside of the doors, just some rubber pad. And this one is rather hard packed than here, but it's quite spacious though. Then you have an AMG entry sill badge and also AMG floor mats. Next to an AMG steering wheel, perforation at the side. This one is also available with microfiber and carbon fiber, the one I would actually go for. And really nice, always here with the illumination inside the turbine air vents. I really love that. And the seats here, what I applaud them for is they use microfiber and the high-grade leatherette, so the seat is animal-free and it looks amazing. Look at that AMG badge. Just from design, this seat is really awesome. However, there is one catch to that. This is the optional performance seat, so you don't have to go for that one. And I also advise you not to pick this optional seat because although it looks amazing and has great materials on the surface, it just doesn't have Einsitzhöhe, like the seating depth.
You can show it there.
Yeah, it's like it's so hard, it doesn't give way. Then it just starts hurting the bones underneath your booty. Yeah, so however, the standard sport seats that are just coming with the 43 without any option have the same material mix, but they're just more comfortable. So the only thing you have to do is not pick this option. Very important. And then here, a lot of headroom left, 189, 6'2". There's also a version with panoramic roof available. And here the steering wheel has an electric control. And the cockpit overview, pretty clean here, vertical layout of the screen. Yeah, but just too much high gloss black than here, I feel. What do you think about that? But you can have some kind of more modern atmosphere here. That looks quite cool, doesn't it? And once again, also with these turbine air vents. Here, by the way, you can easily deactivate this speed limiter chime, either here on the screen or when pressing and holding the mute button, then you can also activate or deactivate that one. But overall, a nice overview and looks also classy, once again with more ambient lighting here around in a very sensual way. And then here, you can open this one, then two USB-C chargers, inductive charging pad in the very front, but that is too much hidden. And also here, these cup holders, the bottles just fly all over the place. They only hold like paper coffee cups. That's it. But anything else is not suitable for that. And then here, split armrest. That's nice again. Then you have more space underneath and two more USB-C chargers. Oh, and these shifting pedals here, they are actually pretty nice. I also give a good feedback. AMG specific gauges here at the steering wheel. Oh, for example, for the exhaust sound, there's also transporting the interior, then also suspension settings and so on. And on the other side, you can easily switch the driving modes also while driving, so that's pretty cool. Steering wheel itself has a good grip. Just here, hashtag capacitive controls on the steering wheel, so these are all capacitive. In the digital instruments, you can also pick different views here for the AMG versions. You can also pick extra sporty designs. And the screen, I do prefer physical dials, of course, for the AC. However, for a touchscreen solution, at least it's good in like the visibility. Here, off-road gauges you have for the GLC here. That's nice. And since it's an AMG, you also have specific performance gauges. So you can also watch the engine there in action here with the suspension, but also engine, for example. Then you can see how you rev it up. Ooh. Rear seats, first of all, the door here, covered. So far, so good. A lot of high gloss black here again, though. That's cool here. The ambient lighting. This is also the warning when someone is behind, like the exit warning when you want to open the door or get out. So that's why it was flashing in red. Pretty cool, right? Lower part, however, then, yeah, this is rather hard pack once again. And it also doesn't open too wide for the child seat access. Isofix at the outside parts though, and you have to put them in like this and then have to see how, when you push them in, then you have to see how you get them out again, like that. Here also the nice microfiber cover for the rear seats, and we have the armrest here, soft, and you can push it out once or twice. Then here for the cup holders, there we go. And then, well, these are the performance seats. And it seems that they do not benefit the rear legroom. On the contrary, I think we had more legroom with the normal seats in GLC. Pretty certain about that. So this one here costs legroom. Wow, it's interesting because they are stiff and slim on the front side, but they are still voluminous on the back side. That is astonishing. So yeah, this is another reason not to go for these performance seats indeed. Wow. And here, the headroom, that's no problem. 189, 6'2". Yeah, this leaves a lot of headroom left. And the comfort in the rear is, I would say, better than in the front.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you got that here. This is how a seat should also be, a little bit plusher than in the front. So yeah, definitely here you would prefer the rear seating position. Trunk or boot at 620 liters. That's actually an advantage to the 63, which is only at 470 liters. Here the cover on the top. Then here there's just like an additional cover. You don't have to use that one. And then underneath, actually a lot of space. That's where the liter figure also comes from. And the shopping basket, because yeah, we always forget to get all the bags. And then we're just somewhere, and then we want to go shopping, and then we don't have any bags with us. So that's maybe a German problem, I don't know. But here we always have the basket. Then here, you see here the width here is easily 1.40 meters. It's even wider, so that's really good. More like 1.10 meters or 43 inches. And then here the length is also approximately 1.40 meters and good height here, 73 centimeters or 29 inches. Also interesting that this one here is still available as the Coupe version, GLC Coupe. And you just have a little bit compromise here in the trunk and in the height, whereas the X3 will not be available as the X4 anymore. Also interesting to know. And what is cool with the GLC here, you always have this great remote unlocking right here and here. So that's a really, really good process. Look at that, how flawless that is. And folds easily, very flat like that, and supposed to be like that. And then here the length is about 1.85 meters or 73 inches. That looks strange, right? But it's because I want to show you two features. First of all, I was criticizing in the latest GLC review that you cannot adjust the rear bench, which is true from a passenger perspective. Like while sitting, it's not really possible. But you can adjust it in a way that there is this cargo position here. When you put this one here up, like that, there we go. Then it is actually steeper, not that comfortable to sit. Here, by the way, also nice how the seat goes back and forward automatically. But this is, you have a little bit more cargo length than in the upper part. So yeah, there you can see the difference. And here, once again, when I fold this one here, look at that seat here. So that's really cool, right? Nice mechanism. And of course, here at the same side, I can also put in this cargo position right here. And here, to fold the seats, it's also easier when you put the rear seat belt here in this small hole, then you have it here at the side. Here you can see the difference then when you have just a little bit more length here in the top part. There we go. Okay. That was 240.
So silent.
Wow. I mean, yeah, besides from the this emulated engine sound, yeah, but like over there, here, there, when I'm 180 kilometers an hour, there's hardly any wind noise. Wow. So really good now. Hard on the brakes. There's really good noise insulation. Wow. I mean, yeah, there was this sound from the sound emulation, like brr, brr, brr.
Sound and,
That was, by the way, a little bit rattling in the speakers, right? So I heard that, like, so that was not that ideal. But when you look aside from the engine sound, really, like Leah is absolutely right, it's really signed as for wind noise, road noise, and you see, like, the road is slightly wet, and here, gladly, it was drier before, where we drove quicker. Wow, Sport and Sport Plus mode. Suspension is stiffer, giving me more feedback from the road. I already feel how agile it is, and then I can always go back to the comfort mode, RPM go lower, and then it's really, really silent. Now let's check on the tunnel. We can also see more of that beautiful ambient lighting. You can of course also change the colors, and here when you change the temperature, for example, it turns red, and when you go colder, it goes blue. Just that it's already blue now, then but if it would be green, it would be blue when you go to minus temperature. Yeah, but it looks really, really cool here, definitely. And also here, we are in a tunnel and we hardly hear anything. So very good noise insulation. In that respect, good comfort. Suspension wise, here in the comfort mode, is also giving us more comfort, but you feel that it's definitely stiffer here in the 43 than in normal GLC, but it's also supposed to do actually. Yeah, although it's an adaptive suspension, still really notably on an AMG trim. And we have the 20-inch wheels here, would be standard on the North American market, and on the European market, 19-inch wheels. These are also winter tires, so they will be a little bit softer, but you know, when the road is a little bit uneven, yeah, you feel that shakiness a little bit. So I would definitely say it's not that you take a base GLC or the one with the air suspension and put a sporty engine in it. It is more you take a GLC 63 and take out the plug-in hybrid drivetrain and have it without the plug-in hybrid. So that's how I see it. So definitely here in this generation, I feel the GLC 43 is really, really close to the 63. Yes, it has more power than 63, more horsepower. Then again, with this additional electric boost there. But this one you already feel so sporty and drives very sporty. In tight corners, when we throw around the car there, then of course, here in this case, the sport seats help. Yeah, that's the only good thing they do actually. But I have to say, just after driving like half an hour or something, yeah, everything is hurting, under my booty. So really can't recommend it as for the comfort. It's just good for holding you tight actually. But that will also be not a problem when you have the normal sport seats with the microfiber. It's not sliding around that much anyway. Well, that was some adrenaline going on there. Pretty nice. And here, by the way, when you put on Sport or Sport Plus mode, the engine start-stop function is also off. That's also a thing to let the engine running at the traffic light if you need to do a quicker jump or something like that. We always have a rear-wheel bias of the all-wheel drive, yet we also have power on the front wheels, and that's also good. For example, when here the road is a little bit wet, for example, we just have more traction, especially to get all of that power on the ground. So, here for example, let's accelerate out. It's really instant, and then out here. Nice. Beautiful. Plop, plop, plop from the exhaust. That's pretty cool. And you can also deactivate that extra node here at the steering wheel. That's also possible. And it's also like this special sound emulation is also an option in the option list for the 43 actually. So you actually don't have to go for that one. When you're in the comfort mode, let's also test out the assistance systems. So here we can set it in the steering wheel.
Maybe we can put a nice background.
Oh, yeah, performance mode. Yeah, the performance gauges are it takes.
Nice.
This looks very cool, right?
Yeah.
Takes sometimes really long to load it, definitely. Here, see here the steering wheel is being directed very nicely in a smooth way. Once again, here in that tunnel, and hardly any quick steering movements here. So really sophisticated. Here, there's the blind spot monitor, red triangle in the side mirror, and you heard it when I set the turning indicator. It also gives us an acoustic warning. So from the assistance systems, extremely elaborated. Very happy with that overall. And we can go one more time. Sport or also our Sport Plus mode. Ooh, see here, goes already 2 gears lower. And then we can accelerate out one more time if we are already at speed. Let's go. Very nice, right? And here very, very stable at higher speeds. So it feels like nothing. Here, of course, the stiffer suspension is doing a good job in giving us a lot of handling and balance. So even at higher speeds, I feel like I'm totally in control of this vehicle, So it doesn't feel like really high-sitting SUV. It feels more like a sports car, definitely. And I don't miss any of the 63 features here. Some more lane change here at higher speeds. It's pretty nice. Let's make the way free. There we go. Yeah, and once again here we're at 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour almost. And yeah, I can also deactivate that exhaust node, and then it's super, super silent. So yeah, once again, great noise insulation and great high-speed handling. And yeah, when we see, like for example, we're testing some Chinese vehicles lately, and everyone is saying like, yeah, the German automotive industry is done, everything is going bankrupt, the Germans suck. And there are huge problems, definitely, you know, and there's huge competition, especially in the electric vehicle segment. But then when you drive this one here with 200 kilometers an hour on the German Autobahn, you know, like the BYD can't do that yet, at least not yet, you know. So huge difference, definitely, in like how the vehicle is handling, how it feels, and so on. So this is something the Germans still can do very well, and why not being proud of that, you know? So that's a very cool thing, definitely. And before we get to our most fun exercise soon, some, you know, going up Autogefühl hill. You remember we brought that hill in sportier vehicle episodes earlier, so you've maybe seen it one if you have been subscribed here for a very long time. And then thank you so much for that. Before that, some comments here: normal countryside driving, a little bit slower driving, really relaxed, very calm. Here, of course, the silver suspension then doesn't play the most favorable role in the seats neither, here the performance seats. And also we're driving with an open cover in the trunk. Like not the trunk itself, I mean like just like the cover above the luggage. Yeah.
200 with open front.
Yeah, 200 with open front, yeah. That's what we do. And the reason is now everything is silent because like this slider is open. But when the slider is closed, it goes like blop, 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 like all time. And it's like, what is it? Is there something that, no, it was not like a suitcase in the trunk or something like that. The trunk cover is so cheaply designed that it just makes a rattling noise when it's closed. And so you have to remember, if you buy 100,000 euros or dollars GLC 43, you have to drive with open trunk cover. Just close it when it's stationary to, you know, to block the views to what's in the trunk. Yeah, that can't be really right. It's a small thing, and I mean, it's also a cheap piece, and it could easily be fixed, but it also has to be fixed, right? So, of course, we try to give you all the insights about all the details that are happening here during our live on tape tests, and so this definitely need to be mentioned. However, now there's the part coming up that I was looking most forward to. And here we go. Nice steering here, super smooth. All-wheel drive with rear bias, you feel that? Really beautiful. Let's turn off that sound emulation, it just goes on my nerves. I can show the difference when I'm accelerating. There we go, next corner. It's beautiful handling. So really, really great in handling. And also if you do some like left, right, and so on. Super precise, and yeah, who would have thought that? Oh, look at that. W123. Beautiful vehicle. There we go. Who would have thought that I especially applaud Mercedes for the steering, you know? They used to be a little bit like laggy in the steering in like 5 years ago or something. But now really, really great precise steering work. And this is so much fun driving these corners here. Wow, that's amazing. So definitely one of the most fun SUVs, I have to say. Accelerating out here, and you know, hear the difference? It's like or not. So I leave this extra emulation off, definitely. Can also use the shifting pedals myself to be in a lower gear, for example. Also here then shift down myself before this really tight corner. Beautiful, so much fun. The shifting pedals you can really hammer in. Next right. Wow, this handles like a sports car. Amazing. So this is like the discipline for that vehicle here. It's so sporty, and yeah, I'm not missing anything from the 63. I'm really enjoying that we have less weight here, definitely. Leah?
Yep.
Fun factor?
Yes.
Leah's sum goes up.
Thumbs.
Yeah, and when Leah is not getting sick or something at all, can you show your face that it's still... Yay! That's beautiful. Your face, of course, and and the driving of that vehicle here. Wow. And as for pricing on the North American market, it starts just below 70,000 dollars, but goes spec'd above $80,000. On the European market, for example, Germany, it already starts above 80,000 euros and spec goes well over 90,000 euros. So you can also spec a 100K vehicle for that. So yes, it's a very expensive one. However, depending on the configuration, still 20 to 35,000 less expensive than a GLC 63. So yes, I think it is a better choice than the 63. It's lighter, it's less expensive, and from the exterior and from the technology, you more or less get the same tech. Some things that 63 still has. Quicker acceleration and also a special anti-tilt control and so on. But most features are already included here in the 43 model. So I think it's, yeah, in a way, the better choice. So what do you think? Is this the best Mercedes EV yet? A full driving review of the Mercedes EQE SUV with Thomas and Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go here. You can see the closed front grille here with an optional microstar pattern. Very beautiful design indeed. This is the AMG line. That means sporty accentuations in the side lower part. We're soon also comparing the electric art line. This color is also very special. It's called Alpine Grey. It's a special AMG color actually for the AMG line here. And we also have a beautiful shooting location here on the Portuguese coastal line. 4.86 meters or 191 inches is the length of the EQE SUV, so the smaller brother to the EQS SUV. This is more than in the competition, for example, with the BMW iX. Wheels from 19 to 22 inch. These here are the 21 inch wheels. At the side you can open this one here for the wiper fluid, for example, but you cannot open the hood. There's an optional HEPA filter underneath when you order that one. And technology news here for the EQE SUV is you can, if you have the all-wheel drive version, it means one electric motor in the rear, one in the front, decouple the front electric motor so that you have efficiency gains when you do not need it. But you can also get an entry version with rear-wheel drive only. Testing here the EQE 500, that is an all-wheel drive model. And these technology updates that come with this vehicle here will also go to the other Mercedes EV models like the normal EQE, the EQS and so on, EQS SUV. But this one here starts it. And there's the second news, not only decoupling of the front wheels, but also standard heat pump now, so you will have less range losses in winter time. This one here visually comes with this side step here, this really cool design element and also aerodynamic performance. And then here we more have a coupe line, I would say, and with a very strong shoulder area. Another technology highlight leads us to the rear axle, because the rear axle steering, that's an option, can turn the rear wheels in the opposite direction than the front wheels up to 10 degrees. That massively reduces the turning circle by up to 2 meters, easier U-turns and so on. And design-wise here in the rear you can see this light strip going across, and on the sides you have this 4-element spiral, whereas the EQS SUV would have this 5-element spiral. Very interesting. In lower part, AMG line. Are these even pretending to be fake exhaust? What do you think? And battery size, by the way, it's always around 90 kilowatt hours. You might see in the price list there are some versions with 89 and others with 91. They don't differ that much. It's just from a different supplier, but the charging times are also pretty much similar. It's always around 30 minutes from 10 to 80% state of charge if you have the biggest power boost, which is at 170 kilowatt peak. Turning indicators, replace the daytime running light in the front. And the rear turning indicators, at first sight it doesn't look that spectacular, but when you look closer it uses these vertical structures, and that looks quite cool then. Also features a very cool welcoming light signature. Look at that when I open the vehicle, how the light builds up. There we go, pretty spectacular. By the way, not to be recommended, but yeah, sometimes I just can't help myself and also do fun things with vehicles which are not useful. Yeah, not releasing the parking brake and then slightly applying the throttle. Again, don't do it, but it looks weirder, right? And here we can very well see with the two Alpine Grey AMG color cars, here the side steps. We have it on our main vehicle, and here's the same color, but without that side step. It really looks different, but which one would you prefer? Aerodynamics wise, by the way, the side step is better. It actually serves aerodynamics because the air is being channeled in a better way underneath the vehicle to the rear. And more colors for you. Here, for example, a subtle blue, a rather darker blue tone, but I think it suits the vehicle very well with the same 21-inch wheels. Or what about here, this diamond white bright vehicle? You have more contrast than here with the wheel arches in that case. 19-inch wheels, so you can see how the car looks like with smaller wheels. Yeah, the bigger wheels do look better, right? But then with the air suspension, you can also even out this comfort difference. And here we can also see a difference, AMG line with the sportier accentuations in the lower part, and the electric art line is a little bit more subtle, has this more closed look, not that sporty, and also more chrome in the lower part, more set on elegance. And here you can also see that this star pattern is just an option, doesn't have anything to do with AMG or not AMG line, but hey, it does kind of look cool with the tiny stars, doesn't it? And this is how it looks like in silver. Or what about in all black? Moving towards the interior, this is the key fob, really premium-like, like that. Then here the door handles, flush, integrated, and then you can open them like this. They are an option in the EQE SUV, and I think it's a little bit over-engineered. Then door closing sound, it's really solid. Inside of the doors, this material is called Neotex. It's a new material, neoprene-alike. It's a mix of microfiber and leatherette. Feels cool, looks cool, really nice. Then here at the inside of the doors, you also see this nice integration of the ambient lighting. Also here around, just a high gloss piano lacquer here, and the lacking haptic feedback of the seat controls, what I would criticize. This is the AMG line interior. Soon going to compare the electric art interior. Here also with the optional hyper screen, which looks fancy. But is it worth it? Soon more deals to that. Here the steering wheel, AMG line with 2 spokes, left and right. The electric art steering wheel would look different. And these seats here are the comfort seats. They are sport seats and comfort seats. Also in the AMG line, you can go here for the comfort seats. The sport seats not available in the US, and they are also more narrow. Here the comfort seats are definitely better. Here with the animal skin wrap, and you see here it already looks old and it feels kind of rough and hard, so not good material quality. And here we can see soon that the electric art Artico cover is way better indeed. Seating position, I'm really happy with that actually. Good comfort here on these comfort seats, and even more than in the electric art with the full Artico interior. This is also better than in the sedans, because here you sit a little bit more upright. And with 189 or 6'2", you also have enough headroom. This is also the version here with the panoramic roof, by the way. And it leaves a lot of light in, really cool. You can also open it, that's also cool. Is it very well usable? More or less, because already like 60 kilometers an hour or something, there are a lot of wind noises. So it's not the best panoramic roof to drive at higher speeds. You have to know that if that is then relevant for you or not. Rear doors, here also with the high-grade leatherette and the Neotex on the top part. It's really well done as for the build quality. Then you can see no middle tunnel, purpose-built EV platform. That's good actually. And since everything is more upright, and although you have the shorter wheelbase than the EQE sedan, you have a lot of legroom here. It's no problem at all. Headroom also works for tall Ls, so 5 tall Ls is fine. Just that the middle seat is a little bit hard at the back part. The outer seats are definitely way more comfortable. And in the lower part, we also have a separate climate unit here, but it's this one button design again. And below that, 2 USB-C chargers. And here we can fold down the cup holders. This is like a smartphone holder, and then like this, you can release the cup holders. Interior cockpit overview. This is here the optional hyperscreen, like one glass unit, 17.7 in the middle, 12.3 inch on the sides each. This is the passenger screen, which now is featuring this personalization with your favorite image, or maybe also of your dog, your cat, or your wife, or your husband. So which one would you actually put there at the passenger screen? This is optional, however, and I'm not sure if I would go for that because it is really expensive, can be up to like 8,000 euros extra. And the base setup here, we can also soon show that to you, is to me actually a little bit nicer even. Here the digital instruments, nice visualization. You can also pick the style, sportier way or understated, or then the map full screen. And wow, this is cool with the satellite view definitely. My favorite is off-road, that yeah, it just looks coolest, doesn't it? And the head-up display is really large, and you can also have some GPS visualizations in there. Some love it, some think it's too much. The ambient lighting, I found it pretty cool actually. You have this color transitions if you like. You can also change the whole color, and either in a multi-color way or maybe also just a single color, so you can really pick that. And what's also quite cool is that when you use the AC unit, you can see warmer or colder as an additional visualization. What are you actually doing? Apple CarPlay or Android Auto integration is really massive indeed, and also works quite quickly. Wireless or wired, both is possible. Burmester sound system or Burmester is really, wow, good sound, and they concentrate on having the original source basically transported to the sound system as accurately as possible. That's their goal. Then you can also see the satellite view in full glory. Wow, look at this. That looks really, really cool, right? Here, for example, you can see that here from the sights in Lisbon. That looks, wow, like in a game, right? And new with this software version introduced by the GLC is here that you have the see-through bonnet with that camera. This is the live camera feed, and this then here in the middle part is being built up while driving from a past camera image. But here you can see it helps that you can see if there's a sharp stone underneath the bonnet and maybe damaging the tires or something. The passenger screen is only active when there's someone on the seat with a seat sensor, and then you basically have the mirroring of everything else, but you can also have video streaming while driving. That's the difference, and the driver then cannot see it. Beautiful matte wood decor. Really cool. And then inductive charging pad, two USB-C chargers, but also here the adaptive cup holders. But when you have like heavier glass bottles or something, small ones, they don't hold them that tight. Then let's make it clean closed again. Here there's a unit for the driving mode selection, for example, and start-stop of the vehicle. Then you have the split armrest with more space underneath. Not to forget this huge space here underneath the middle console with more charging possibilities. Let's also take a look at the electric art interior we have here, starting at the inside of the doors with with these nice new materials that is neoprene finish, and listen to that. Also, when you touch it, how it sounds, really cool indeed. This is also the base steering wheel. That one looks better in the AMG trim, I think, because again in AMG you have the two-spoke design. Here there's a one-spoke design. But this interior is also without any animal materials, and the steering wheel feels good. And also here with the seats, this is very astonishing. This here actually looks better and feels softer. And look at this different cockpit. This does not feature the optional hyperscreen. Then you have this vertical layout like we know from a C-Class or the S-Class and so on. And you have here space for decor element, and you can pick different stylings. So a very interesting 3D structure underneath here. So I found actually more beautiful without the hyperscreen. And also here the digital instruments are not integrated. They're more upright, and they give you actually better visibility, because when it's leaned backwards, then the sun can also get to that a little bit better. Here, this way, better view. So this solution here saves money, and to me, it is also better as for the user interface. What do you think? We flipped the logo here to open the trunk or the boot. 520 liters up to 1,675. And then here, this says no rails at the side, but it's actually good in the build quality. And then underneath here we also have a lot of space for charging cables. The length here is 94 centimeters or 37 inches, and the width is also between the wheel arches, easily a meter or 40 inches, you can see it here. And the total height is also important. It's actually quite substantial, 72 centimeters or 28 inches. So this is how you can use the trunk. You can also fold the seats right here, but you have to grab over. There's no remote lock or something, and then you can load through the front seats. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge. We start with the sport mode. Acceleration, slightly uphill, but does it have really enough power? Let's go! Plop, that's 90 kilometers an hour. Woo! That went really quick. I mean, the official figure was 5 seconds, like 4.9. Whew, more punch from the rear, from the strong electric motor. Wow, I was really pushed into the seat. That was a lot of fun, really cool. And we first check out the agile driving characteristic here because the EQE is shorter than the EQS SUV, and so also gives us more driving fun. It feels definitely more agile. This here even has a shorter wheelbase than the EQE sedan. Very interesting concept indeed. However, due to the low center of gravity in these electric vehicles, the batteries are placed in the middle bottom part. The difference between driving a sedan and an SUV body type is slimmer here with electric vehicles than it is with combustion engine models. We have no shaking up effect or something. In the sports mode here, this optional air suspension is set on a stiffer note, so there's no rolling or something. Really cool. The rear axle steering at higher speed gives us rather more stability because then it turns into the same direction than the front wheels. At lower speed, soon going to show that as well, it helps with turning circle and also easing the car in and out in the city and parking lots and so on. And yeah, this is a lot of fun indeed. Pretty cool. It is not the most sporty EV overall there is. There are sportier EVs out there, but considering what you expect from the outside, how the car looks, doesn't look like a sports SUV or something. It's also not supposed to be one, but it is really decently quick and it is still fun to drive. The steering input is really natural and likable, and you see, you don't have to steer that much. Mercedes has changed that with recent new models. Before that, you had to always steer quite a lot with Mercedes, more set out on comfortable driving straight and so on. Now you have to steer less without, it being too sensitive or something. I think they found a very good solution here, that it's sporty, fun to drive. You don't have to steer too much, but still remain with this very natural steering character. So in this case, I think very well done. And also here in the city, since we have that shorter wheelbase and the other models, feels actually pretty much at home. You can ease that here around also more narrow roads and so on, no problem at all. Most important thing in city driving is when you have the optional rear axle steering in the highest build, up to 10 degrees, the rear axle goes in the opposite direction than the front wheels, and situations like these, it feels like you would be turning on standstill, like wow, that's really amazing. I mean, it's not a small vehicle at all, but this option actually reduces the turning circle by 2 meters. So this has essentially a turning circle of a small vehicle. Did you hear this chime, by the way? It's very interesting, this new law for European vehicles, which coming new to the market, new homologation, that actually you need to have a warning chime as soon as you exceed the speed limit, even if it's just 1 kilometer an hour. And the thing is really, it can be very annoying because, let's be serious, when it's 40 kilometers an hour here and I maybe hit like 41, who cares? That has nothing to do with speeding or being dangerous or something. We all agree that especially in the city, especially like where children are present, everyone has to slow down and drive the according speed limit and watch out. No doubt about that, I'm absolutely pro, keeping the speed limits, but keeping it realistic and not annoying for the driver. I think that's the key thing. Mercedes has thought of that. That's very interesting. So when you exceed it once by just, maybe a small minor or policia, then you can either click the small symbol here on the screen. There's like a traffic sign symbol with a speaker, or the alternative would be to hold the mute button for a second, and then actually this chime is being muted. By law, once again, this is reactivated every time you restart the vehicle. Yeah, and with some vehicles we had, for example with the Neo vehicles, we had really funny experiences because it was like very loud, annoying. Maybe it's done like by voice assistant that it really literally tells you you have exceeded the speed limit. Here this chime, but I think it's pretty cool that they directly thought of that to have actually 2 very easily accessible shortcuts to turn that chime off. Yeah, this is the thing where the development of the car industry is heading to. Everything is more and more automated and things are getting also more and more annoying. Some things, improvement in safety, are good and also help us. Some new technology features are beneficial for customer, also for safety and so on. But if that's really so beneficial, I don't know. What do you think? And motorway 80 to 120. Plop, that's it. Was even a little bit more, so that was slightly down about. The power is definitely there. And here, Portuguese motorway, 120 kilometers an hour is maximum this part here. And super silent here, although it's quite windy outside. Close to the sea, it's quite normal, but the noise insulation from the windows and so on is really very good. We have the optional air suspension in this very vehicle, and it really gives us good floating comfort. With the 21-inch wheels, of course, when you have some fierce bumps in the road, then you do feel them. If you would go for smaller wheels, you could even that out better. But I like that the air suspension is not too hard, actually, and you can also adjust a little bit by the driving mode. Here in the S Sports mode, it's a little bit stiffer. Here in the comfort mode, then you have more floating effect, and that really gives you good comfort, definitely, while driving. So you can enjoy it, at least from the comfort aspect, also on the motorway, also long term, even better than with the shown Artico seats because of the softer surface, if that's available on your market. As for the assistance systems, you can sit here on the steering wheel, adaptive cruise control, ruling back and forth, and also left and right here with the active steering. Here on the Portuguese motorway, they are not that high in speed compared to Germany, but here you can see we can very well test because there are quite a lot of times that like bend, especially here in this Lisbon area. Here right side, I didn't steer at all, so you see very smooth reaction here from this active steering assist. That is indeed also well done. If you, by the way, go on the brakes, then you always have recuperation, but hardly any in the normal recuperation mode. And then you can adjust it here at the shifting pedals, so to speak. For example, you can go left for strong recuperation, then you have much deceleration when you go off the throttle, or on the right side, no recuperation. Or then the last setting is D-Auto. That is doing, for example, when I'm closer here to a vehicle in front of me and have D-Auto, and then I go off the throttle, then I have recuperation, for example. But then when the sensor is not picking up anything here, when I have more freeway, there's no recuperation, it's just rolling. And I think that's a good setting. There's always the discussion between predictability or making it purpose-built, you know what I mean? And you can argue both ways, both have something. The only thing is, no matter which setting you pick, after a reset of the vehicle, after the next drive, everything is anyway reset on the normal recuperation. The reason is not because the manufacturer wants to tease you or taunt you. It's a mandatory reason by law because they have to make these driving cycles always in the same recuperation mode. Yeah, but that's not ideal for the customer. I think regulation-wise, this should change. Ideal temperature conditions today here for running battery electric vehicles, and then we could score some consumption figures of 20 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. That's some 3 miles per kilowatt hour, meaning a real road range of 450 kilometers or 280 miles. Again, it would be a little bit less than in worse conditions temperature wise, but the new standard heat pump will hopefully also even that out a little bit more. This is here the Audi Q6 e-tron in a full driving review, specifically as the Q6 e-tron, the most powerful version so far. And here was Thomas on Autogefühl, 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with an in-depth look, also with the comparison to the Porsche Macan, sister or brother. How good is this one here in relation? And also, the Tesla Model Y, most sold EV in this world, most sold car overall in 2023. How does it relate to this one here? And does it justify the price you pay for this one? We'll find out everything together. Then here, the lamps, really slim. You can actually pick different signatures, and also when you hit the turning indicators, it looks really spectacular. Different LED levels, a low LED trim, then a higher LED trim, which is already standard here for the Q6, and then optional the matrix LED that you also see right here. Then you have this rather closed mask, but it's kind of mimicking the gaps you had before in the combustion engine versions. The Audi rings are two-dimensional here. And usually an Q6 would come with a bright mask around, like here, everything, but it's blacked out because this one here is carrying a black package. This vehicle color here is Daytona gray, I think it also fits the vehicle very well and will also be one of the most sold colors. Yeah, especially in Europe, in Germany, most cars are sold as gray or silver and as black. Yeah, that's the way it is. And then white and then the rest of the colors. Wheels from 19 to 21 inch. The SQ6 would start 20 inch. These here, the biggest ones, 21 inch. Still with these aerodynamic inserts. Yeah, some comments from the background as well. Then we have the painted wheel arches and the length is 4.77 meters or 188 inches. So there is also the Q8 e-tron, but this one here is now on a dedicated EV platform, as I said, together with the Porsche Macan, hopefully bringing us some efficiency gains and so on. Suspension technology, as we continue on to the rear, is like a more classic building style, a classic SUV form. Oh, and by the way, I need to show you this right now, the charging flap. Oh, there we go. This is electric and it takes ages, yes. AC, DC charging is an 800 volt charging infrastructure, so in that case, then you just need a little bit over 20 minutes from 10 to 80% state of charge, 270 kilowatt peak. That is very impressive. But if this charging flap really needs to be electric and it takes so long, I think a manual one would have done better, wouldn't it? Battery, by the way, 95 kilowatt hours net. Later on, we can also expect an 80 kilowatt hour net battery as a smaller, little bit cheaper entry version. So far, everything works with this battery. And if you come around to the other side, you'll see that we have a second charging flap actually on the other side. Now, sometimes you, no, maybe I have to open the car once more. There we go. Yeah. I'm not so sure about this. I mean, the great idea is that you get both sides as standard. That's the comment to that again. So, and here then on this side then only AC charging. Yeah, but it seems to be working a little bit more reliable than it did in the studio actually. Well, and then back to the vehicle, because first of all, this light strip here goes all the way across. So very cool design. You can also once again get different stylings for that. The SQ6 and also an S-Line gets here this red S badge. Then if it's an SQ6, it also has then these, you know, this S badging then here together. Acceleration figures, 4.3 seconds here for the SQ6. However, you also get the normal all-wheel drive version. That is then like 1.5 seconds slower. And there's also an entry rear-wheel drive version only. The exact figures and stuff, we have also always a pinned comment and in the video description where you always find these figures. Most German EVs do not have a frunk. Why? I don't know, but this one does have one. And that has to be the connection with Porsche, because here you can store a charging cable, or I would say even more. By the way, all versions go faster than 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour. This one here even 230 kilometers an hour. The SQ6, so like 140 miles per hour. So definitely also fast enough for the German Autobahn. Suspension technology, base is a frequency adaptive damping. That means it reacts according to the impact it gets, like the frequency of the impact. That's the base suspension, even for the SQ6. And then optionally you get an air suspension. When you go for that one in the SQ6, it has a sportier setup, and we will also test that for you here today. Rear axle steering, that's something that this one does not have. That one would be reserved for the Porsche Macan. Yeah, they want to have like a justification for the extra price for the Macan that it does get some more tech features and so on. Also pretty cool, the light signatures, welcome and goodbye, front and the rear. It works for 3 times after each other when you open the vehicle. Usually it's just needed for 1 time, but after 3 times it basically has this plate protection that the kids don't drain the battery with that, for example. So in the front you have this crystalline building up effect inside the headlamps. That looks really, really cool. Whereas in the rear you rather have this light strip that builds up, and then you have some more animation inside the rear lamp. And you can also set the individual settings for the signatures once again, as I told you earlier, in the infotainment system here. Now Leah is showing us 2 more exterior features. Look at that here in the lower part. There is the e-tron badge, and it is really imprinted, so you can actually feel that. And the model naming right here is in this B pillar. There you can read SQ6 e-tron Quattro. That's like the official naming for that one. So for Leah, I think with the styling, with the black features and stuff, yeah, that's probably to her liking. And another thing that Leah found out, so when you open the vehicle, of course, then there's also the turning indicator, but then there's an additional one here. When you open the door, then it goes one more time with the indicators there. See if it's also the case when you close the door.
Don't think so.
No. So it's like when opening the vehicle and opening the door, I think. Yeah, look at that here. Also when opening the door. Interesting. Getting to the interior, this is the key fob. It's light and also no high gloss black. I like that. Then door closing sound. That is awesome. So that is just how it's supposed to be. Double thumbs up actually for both front and rear door and inside of the doors. It's not too soft in the top part, I have to say. However, then there's a nice microfiber insert and red contour stitching here. S-Line and SQ6 are kind of similar. You have this S entry badge, but yeah, as I said, it could be S-Line or SQ8. SQ6 is the same. And then here, all hard pack, just this rubber underneath that things don't fly around that easily. Then steering wheel here with a flat bottom. That looks quite cool. And at the moment, everything is shut off and soon it will come to life. Then this will be illuminated. And also here, you see this whole curved screen there, all blacked out at the moment, but this will also come to life. And then the seats. So you get base fabric seats, but in Europe only. Then you have normal sport seats, and these are the performance sport seats. And these are also available with microfiber here. So for this respect here, a nice choice. The normal sport seats I feel would be a little bit more comfortable than these here, but yeah, the seating comfort ergonomics is actually quite decent. The only thing they do not offer yet is a completely animal-free interior. The best would be in Europe, the pure fabric seat or a fabric leather red mix. But then there are always animal parts in this vehicle here, and in a modern EV 2024 needs to find also an animal-friendly solution, definitely. And in here, 1.89 meters, a lot of headroom left, and the steering wheel, when I turn on the ignition or when I, sometimes when you just sit down or use the brake, you can see here, steering wheel can be adjusted up and down, in and out, and there you can see now also these sliders are illuminated. You can slide it, hashtag capacitive BS, but when you click it, at least, you also get a nice feedback. Cockpit perspective, here more microfiber on this dashboard, and then on the top part is also soft touch. Then we can get an optional passenger screen, otherwise it would be high gloss black everything here. I always ask myself, why would that be necessary? I don't understand it, but I got some comments from some users that say when you pick something like in the navigation system, then the passenger sends it to the main screen or something like that. I always feel that passengers rather use their own smartphone to research like a restaurant nearby or something, but yeah, I don't know, you tell me. Then the screen unit here, there's like a 14.5-inch unit on the right side and a 12-inch unit on the left side. Zoom modules to that. In the lower part, middle console, 2 USB-C charger. Then there's like a smoker's pack here in the front part. Yeah, maybe not the best idea for such a new vehicle then for the resale value. And then here is an inactive charging pad. Sometimes it does lose contact, I feel. But the good thing is it is cooled, so the phone does not overheat. Then here you can close this one here for a lot of high gloss black. That does collect some fingerprints. Then you slide it open. And then adaptive cup holders here. And drive select, you click it. And then you either can click the drive modes through like this, or you can click once and then select it with your hand. So both is possible. You select the gears like this, D and R or P, and then this one here, the armrest, you can put that one up, then you have a lot of space underneath actually. There's even the first aid kit is hidden underneath here, so yeah, actually why not? And this is your driver POV here with the 2-dimensional Audi rings on the steering wheel. You get used to that. However, I like it more when I really can touch the Audi rings. Digital instruments, here when I put in a gear, you can see them even better. And then you can switch the view to a more simplified view or more information there. Also, what information you want to see there. So they are actually quite flexible, and the speed is usually then there in the lower part. And here you can set this favorite button actually to, for example, the function to deactivate this speed limit warning, so this is a good thing then for EU customers. You also get a head-up display here with some augmented reality arrows. Hard to catch on camera, they appear full-time, definitely. You might remember Tesla is offering these gaming features where you can actually turn the steering wheel inside a card game, which is on the display. Audi offers gaming via the head-up display. You activate like a space shuttle game, for example, or a 3D squash, starting with the space shuttle. You see it here in the head-up display, there's this space shuttle, and then you use the shifting pedals and the accelerator pedal or the brake pedal to change, to maneuver that through. It's kind of funny. Is it much useful or much fun? I'm not sure about that, but yeah, they're trying to be a little bit more joyful with that. And then you can also use this 3D squash. There we have this cage, and is some kind of ping pong game. Once again, you use your shifting pedals for right and left, and then the throttle or the brake for up and down to put that ball over to the other side. And then here in the infotainment system, it is actually quite quick and responsive. Looks quite cool. The climate unit sometimes did me some hassle because I was, doing something in the climate unit, and then I want to access the menu, and sometimes, yeah, like this, that's how it's supposed to work. But sometimes I clicked on the menu and it just didn't appear, and I have no idea why. So maybe they need to work a little bit more on the software. But it's something completely new indeed here. You have the code keys right there. Apple CarPlay, Android Auto is of course also available here, wired or wireless, so both is available. So they stepped up the game here, although we had some problems with it, but overall definitely better than before. And then let's see if I put in Barcelona as a destination. So this would not be suitable here without charging. There, for example, here now in 256 kilometers, I should reload from 19 to 81%, and that's obviously it. Rear seats. Here you can see manual shade. Then this is here on the top part. What is it? It's not. Is it somewhat soft, but barely, I would say. Then here the microfiber insert. However, I have to say the microfiber quality I've seen better. There are different suppliers for microfiber, of course. And then here inside of the doors is also all hard pack. So for that price, I'm not so sure about that. Then here we also have the microfiber inside. The quality here on the seats is very good, actually, of the microfiber. And Isofix here with these covers, you can just push back that way. And then, yeah, legroom wise, I mean, it's an electric platform, but why is there hardly any legroom? I mean, it's not a short vehicle, so this is disappointing. It does fit for 4 toy adults, but barely. And always when I say barely, I always have to think of bears, like bears, animal bears, like barely. Sorry about that. Okay. Here, 189 or 6 for 2. It's always like, in general, like with general, okay. I just keep doing the, yeah, you know what I mean. Okay. So not too much space here, but headroom is okay. Then it's here like the adaptive cup holders. There we go. And we can also use this one here as a ski hatch to just load the middle stuff through. The seating comfort itself here on the rear seats, that one is actually pretty good when you are okay with this not so much space. And in the middle part here, 5th seat, it's a little bit stiffer. It works, but then the legroom is definitely the main problem. Different ways to open the electric hatch here. For example, also pressing twice here on the key fob, then 530 liters up to 1,530 liters. This cover here is purely manual. Then there's a meter or 40 inches in width, and the length here is also a meter or 40 inches. I don't need to extend it actually. And here there's like the 77 centimeters or 30 inches. So yeah, well usable, not too large. You can see there's this step here, kind of it raises towards the inside, and then we can also fold the seats from here. It's good that we have this remote release. There we go. And then you see this step here once again. So this can be made flatter, basically. And then here, there's another storage also for several cables if you don't want to store them in the front, or some there, some here. And if you have the air suspension, you can also lower the whole thing here for an easier loading in and out. Then you can see that the air suspension then compresses here in the lower part a little bit. Drive select, dynamic, let's go. Woo! That was 30 kilometers an hour to 100 kilometers an hour. Really quick here with the Audi Q6. So then the most performant version here of this new large electric SUV by Audi. The official acceleration figure from 0 to 100 is 4.3 seconds actually, 4.3 seconds.
Ich habe das leider nicht verstanden. Kannst du das bitte wiederholen?
So that is when you...
Das habe ich leider immer noch nicht verstanden. Schau doch gern nach möglichen Sprachkommandos unter dem Reiter Hilfe in meinen Einstellungen.
Are you finished? Thank you. Back
I
to
think
our...
she's German.
Yeah. Totally German, yeah. Yeah, that's always when you mention the brand name and then, you know, it catches the activation word and then, you know, with the voice recognition. But it always gives you the giggles and the laugh for that, definitely, for sure. One major thing they want to achieve here with this vehicle is that it feels lighter than it actually is, because it is a heavy electric vehicle. These battery packs add a lot of weight. And one of the measures is here, when you turn the steering wheel actually, there's a fine command even if you are in these low degree angle, you know, areas. So you don't have to turn the steering wheel much. And the reason for that is mainly that a small vehicle usually reacts a little bit quicker to what you do with it, you know, and that kind of conveys this feeling. So a very progressive steering, you don't have to steer a lot. At the same time, it's not super aggressive that you know, don't manage a lane change or something. So when I'm here doing a lane change, for example, landing here, I can still very well control it and not, you know, overdo it or something. Let's see from driving modes. This is here dynamic mode. Pick the drive selecting. I can do it here in the infotainment, but yeah, though this is way lighter. So this makes a big difference indeed. And dynamic mode. You also heard it was rather silent on the interior. The only thing you probably heard were all lunch bags there back in the trunk. I put them in the trunk because yeah, I was I was expecting that. That's why I put it in the trunk and the cover closed. But yeah, you still hear them, especially in the electric vehicles when you don't have the rest of like an engine sound or something like that. Here on the motorway, you would rather keep it in the balance setting, and then also. It's a great noise insulation, really. Super silent in here. That is excellent. So
Now I can sleep.
yeah, I mean, you feel like this, you know, silence from the electric drivetrain, and then the great insulation of the windows. I mean, we're driving 80 kilometers an hour, like 50 miles an hour. We're on the motorway, and it doesn't even feel like we're being on the motorway. I mean, yeah, for a German customer here, you might say, like, this is no motorway, this is no Autobahn. Yeah, because, you know, I was yesterday on the Autobahn with a petrol 6-cylinder from Audi and was driving like 180 kilometers an hour. So there's a very good comparison then, how that feels like. And this here feels super, super, super smooth. And this is also something in comparison to the Porsche Macan. Although we have here the 21-inch wheels mounted, the biggest ones available, even optional for the Q6, 20 to 21 inch, the normal Q6, 19 to 21 inch. And also here in the Q6, we have a sportier setup of the air suspension. The air suspension, even an option for the Q6, but then with a sportier setup. But if we then compare the Porsche Macan to it, I mean, they are on the same platform and they are on the technological side, more or less the same vehicle, really. But they really feel way different than I would have expected, even here in the Q6 trim. So the Audi is way more on the comfortable side, and although it has this performance, it is so much better in the driving comfort. Oh, yeah, that's nice here, and then the red siding. It's always good to see in the tunnel, especially when we have these driving. This was the blind spot monitor because the car was on the other lane before, then it switched. Yeah, especially good to see it in the tunnel then, because it doesn't seem to be on all the time. It seems to be connected to the daytime running sensor, but we have to check it in the infotainment if you can also change that. Yeah, so back to the Macan comparison, Q6. Here, I feel like, yes, I have the power, but I'm rather using it for the stuff that cars are usually being used for, like, you know, being smooth, motorway, on city traffic and so on. And with the Macan, I felt like I need to attack this all the time. At the same time, you lose comfort, you know. And I think it's okay because then you have the different brand positioning. Because it's always tricky when cars are on the technological side basically identical. How can you differentiate them? Like we found out here, the Audi is the cruiser. It is the more, you know, like logical vehicle in that sense. The Macan more has these racing genes. And of course, for 99% of all customers, this setup here makes so much more sense. Plus, you save at least 10,000 euros or dollars in the entry price. But if you spec the vehicle, the difference between the Macan and the Q6 will be rather like 30, 40, 50,000 euros. So huge difference. So if you ask me, I mean, you do have the performance here, and also, you know, like going left and right. I don't see any reason to go for the Macan unless you say like, I want to lose comfort. You know what I mean? Yes, it feels sportier, but I think that's actually a problem for Porsche, you know. So the more logical choice is definitely Q6 e-tron, and the Porsche you would mainly go for the brand, like for the badge. That's just how I can comment on that. And I feel like one of the main findings is this very relaxing drive here, you know. These seats here, I talked about them earlier. These are the like the sports performance seats. The microfiber seating service is good. That's the good part about it. If you stick with the base sport seats, I feel they might also add some more comfort, because here with Audi, usually the sportier you go in the seat, the stiffer the bolstering itself is. But overall, so far, it's actually quite fine. Yeah, next to the aspect that they need to show us animal-free interiors, which Audi is still ignoring for most models. Yeah, so that's something they need to work on. But I'm really very positively surprised how smooth it feels here on the Autobahn. I could just go on for miles and miles and miles, and it will of course even be interesting, A, what will be the final consumption, and also how agile it will drive. And before we leave the motorway, here the assistance systems. So let's just, you know, leave the hands here. I'm supposed to keep him on the steering wheel, but just to show you how the car is following that bend here on the motorway in a very smooth way, very elaborated. We already heard the blind spot monitor. That's pretty cool. When I'm on the brakes, by the way, so the base recuperation is set rather to rolling. You can also go here to the B mode. Then you have very strong recuperation if you like that. So it depends on which driving mode you just prefer. Other than that, you use your brake pedal to do the recuperation. And this is also really strong, up to 220 kilowatt. It can recuperate via these two electric motors. First, there's recuperation via the rear electric motor. Then when this is all used, then also via the front one. So the rear one reacts first. And then the rear braking power is applied. So in 90% of all situations, you will use the recuperation and not the rear brakes. And am I feeling that? Actually, no. And that is also a great accomplishment. You do not feel the difference when you are using the recuperation, when you're using the brakes. And this is one of the main challenges when designing electric vehicles and talking about the braking performance. And that means you can sometimes even recharge the car quicker, basically going down the hill than putting in the plug. It's also definitely a very fun fact. And this is a very good example here. This motorway is bending quite a lot. So that's a funny thing, that the top speed in Spain on the motorways is not really high in comparison to Germany. But when it is so narrow and that curvy in Germany, then in Germany the speed would be way lower. Funny, isn't it? And here, for example, no matter in which driving mode you actually are, here, even, you know, balanced or dynamic, here I have a little bit more feedback. I've also now deactivated the lane keeping assist to have a more natural driving feeling. That helps a lot, definitely, because when the lane assist is activated, then it tends to interfere, you know, when you're doing some agile driving maneuvers and so on. But then when you deactivate it, which you can also do here with your left thumb, so you can either here press here, then with or without, like the adaptive driving system, with or without lane keeping, and if you press and hold, then it actually disappears completely, and then you can, you know, steer this one way better, and it's so much fun because you really feel how smooth it goes in every corner. Easy Sport, launch control. Woo! was 0 to 100 kilometers an hour. That was even more fierce. So I was in dynamic mode, plus then, it's an electric vehicle, also you get here to the ESC Sport, so the stability control is drawn back a little bit, and then you can activate the launch control, 1 foot on the brake, 1 on the throttle. Of course, not meant to use it on public roads. Yeah, that one is really something. So, I mean, it doesn't look that much high performance on the outside, you know, maybe even not that much like the Porsche Macan or something, but this is very much performance alike indeed.
It's enough.
Yeah, that's way more than enough indeed. Important is when you also do like some, you know, nice cornering, or also then, you know, when you want to drive a little bit faster on cornery motorways. I made the experience now once again that it's really important to deactivate that lane keeping assist, because it interferes quite a lot. So you don't have to do anything steering wise usually, but when you want to steer yourself, you really have to like here click and hold here on the left stalk column, that you completely deactivate the lane assist, and then you can freely steer how you like. So this is really very, very important in that respect. Pricing, we have the German ones for the reference, is just under 70,000 euros for the rear-wheel drive version, only 75,000 euros for the all-wheel drive version, and an SQ6 94,000 euros. As it stands here right now, easily like 120k or something like that. So not cheap at all. However, way cheaper indeed, especially a configured one, than a Porsche Macan. So it's really like Porsche Macan, a fully spec'd turbo or something. You can also get like 150, 160 or something. Then this is cheap in comparison, but then again, if you compare a Tesla Model Y, this is again then half the price than this one. Yeah, so these are the price relations. Then as for the economy, consumption, rear-wheel range, we could score some 20 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers today, so that's a little bit more than 3 miles per kilowatt hour, with predominantly motorway 100, 120 kilometers an hour, so like 60, 70 miles per hour, and some city driving, so a realistic mix indeed. So it's not the most astonishing figure, but actually quite good considering also this size here, and definitely way better than it was with the Q8 e-tron, so to speak, the predecessor of this one. Means a real-world range of around 460 kilometers or 290 miles. So now an Audi or a Mercedes SUV, let's look at these pairs. Between the Mercedes GLS and the Audi Q7, I would actually prefer the Q7 because I think it has the better riding overall, more fun to drive. So the Mercedes GLS feels kind of heavy. The Q7 is heavy as well, but it doesn't feel like it. So I would prefer the Q7 because it is clearly the better one to drive. Both offer a lot of space on the interior, or like with the GLS, is definitely the electric folding of all the seats. That's better in the GLS. Actually, the Q7 is a little bit more manual in that respect. Between Mercedes GLE and Audi Q8, I would also pick the Audi here. I think also once again that the overall driving fun is better with the Q8. Both are very well comparable, and of course you have to look at the prices, but maybe also a small nuance to the Q8 here. Between Mercedes GLC and Q5 in the so far generation, I would go with the Mercedes GLC. I think the GLC is also one of the best Mercedes models overall at this moment in the model portfolio, and it just gives you a better luxurious feeling than the Q5. However, this counts for the old generation. Now there's the all-new Audi Q5, as we've also shown to you. This one we had static so far, so we can compare that. They try to make it more upmarket, but at the end of the day, we also have to drive it very soon, and then we can give you another assessment if you would switch our opinion. Between the Mercedes EQE SUV and the Audi Q6 e-tron, there I also feel that the Audi is a little bit ahead because it has this better EV technology that is also developed in comparison with Porsche and so on. However, the newer Audi models always have a problem that they have made the user interface worse than before, so when they are a little bit older, I would actually prefer them in that case. So once again, with the big ones, rather the Audis, however very close between GLE and Q8, with the mid-size and the smaller SUVs, rather than go for the Mercedes SUVs. And with the EVs, yeah, I think at the moment that's also rather the Audi. In general, it also depends. The Mercedes looks a little bit more luxurious here and a lot of features and also from design, whereas the Audi usually offers the sportier driving experience depending on what you prefer. What's your take on it? Tell me in the comments, and which one would you go for overall if you had the choice? I think from all of these I would probably go with an Audi Q8. What do you think? Tell me in the comments and join us for more comparison episodes.